Ahoy, landlubbers! It's me, your Captain Vasco speaking. Oh no. It's Saturday, March 18th, 2023. For future reference, for those watching from the future and not live. Did not stream yesterday. I'll give a really brief recap of things, but if you were here last Saturday, then you're probably aware that I was like in an especially bad place and just like really feeling awful. And let's just say things did not get better. So I think I had mentioned last Saturday that my schedule and my sense of my what splintered remains there still were of any sense of normalcy or control I had over things after dealing with the constant rain and the leaks in my roof and stress beyond my control and like just lots of negative factors on top of depression that had been active and heavy for, well over a month. My landlady called for some work to be done on extremely short notice and like really just goofed up my schedule and added a ton of stress to my weekend. And part of the reason that I sort of accommodated it, as bad as it was, is that the decision seemed to be to either do it Saturday to try and take care of it right away, or to try and do it on Monday. And I think I even mentioned on stream that like I had been putting off trying to take a mental health day with as bad as things had been, and I had been targeting Monday to do so. And I really just wanted that to be a day where like stressful things weren't happening, and there's little control I have over how relaxing I can make that day, as important as it is for it to be not stressful. But I figured by trying to deal with it on Saturday, that would make a difference. And it didn't, because she sent more people to do more work on Monday without asking me. The distinction, I guess, in her mind being that they didn't come into my apartment to check the ceiling for like the 6th time, which is just like the thing that all the repair people have been doing this year. It should be like, well, you gotta make sure to give them access so that they can like look at where the ceiling is bad. Why do we not send the same guys or like make note of this somehow? Because like they just keep checking. They're not, the leak spots are not moving around. They are a constant. But so I guess she didn't feel the need to tell me this because they went straight up on the roof this time. And so I spent the entire day just being aware of people walking around on my roof and sawing and hammering and dragging things around or something. And like, it turns out that's kind of stressful. Turns out that's like not relaxing. But, it's fine. It still helped. It's okay. Tuesday, actually, it's fine. Not great. Trying to get back into work after taking the day off. Always a struggle. And then, work's been rough. Not like the worst thing I can imagine, but like certainly bad. No, it's not. I don't have HOA problems. It's like a straight up like apartment. It's, I don't know. The distinction isn't profound to most people, but like it's landlady and she's just negligent is a strong word, but so Tuesday's mostly fine. Now, mostly until about 10:30 p.m. or so, I'm watching a video, like brushing my teeth, getting ready for bed. Video suddenly dies in a way that's weird. So I start checking some of my other devices, and suddenly, like, none of them are getting internet. Now, on Tuesday night, it's raining pretty heavily because it's just always raining heavily this year. And, long story short, I use multiple sources to try and determine if there's just an outage in my area, if, like, the internet service provider's just, like, not getting through to people. They claim that it isn't. There's no outage, that they'll have to, like, send a technician out, which I don't want to do. And I'd also, on Tuesday, my landlady was like, well, there's like one last stage of repairs to be done. And it's like the interior, so like they definitely have to come inside and like do that stuff. And, well, like, when do you want that to be? Because I'd given her kind of a hard time about, like, not giving me any notice. I think she, like, went out of her way to do that. And I was like, well, can we do it on Wednesday? And then, like, she just didn't say anything. She gave, like, basically no reply until, like, I don't actually remember when she got back to me. But, like, I think it was Wednesday. And I was like, yeah, I mean, clearly they're not coming here today. So at this point, I have no internet access, which means I can't work on Wednesday. I have 2 people scheduled to come into my house. It's my understanding at this point in time. I'm waiting for construction people to come in to fix the roof. And I'm waiting for, like, an internet technician to, like, figure out why I don't have internet. But because I really can't afford to go, like, 2 days without internet, I go ahead and get, like, a newer model router, like a modem router, what I'd been using for a long time. Put that on hold at the local Best Buy because the equivalent through, like, Amazon would take, like, a lot too long. Luckily, there was one pretty close to me, so I'm keeping an eye on the apartment. Not sure if construction people are showing up at any point. My mom goes and picks up the router, brings it there. I set that up, and I think it was like sometime around when I got the router set up that my landlady finally gets back to me being like, yeah, like, turns out they're not coming in today. I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's almost noon, so, like, yeah. Pretty much figured that was the case, since you hadn't said anything all day. And, like, Thursday, after like, you know, trying to communicate with my bosses about how I was doing every humanly possible thing to get my internet running, and luckily the new router did it, and I didn't have to deal so much with the technician and all that, so I got to work as soon as I could. Thursday, everything was, like, mostly normal, other than the fact that, like, all the evidence is building that next week will be another extremely bad work week. Just, like, lots of little things adding up, and it's like, nah, I know these signs. I've been here before. I know it's gonna be another really bad week, and my boss is gonna try and blame me for it. My bosses have, like, mostly been pretty chill about how rough this week has been for me, but, like, at the same time, like, they're still kind of giving me a hard time about, like, mistakes that, like, mostly aren't important, and it's like, my life is destroyed. Like, I am in, like, shambles. If you could just... Like, this is not a thing I say lightly. I am your best employee. Like, if you could just chill. Like, not, like, chill and, not yes and. If you could just yes, that would be great. But that's not where we're at. And then yesterday is when they finally did send the last repair crew. And, I mean, that was pretty invasive. They said they were supposed to be here from 8 to noon, which I thought was pretty optimistic. And honestly, the time frame was about correct, except for the fact that they showed up like an hour late, which I guess could be worse, but still frustrating in the scheme of how much of a hassle it's been to get this all resolved. And, I mean, yesterday went about as straightforward as it could, other than the fact that it, like, went pretty late into the day, but, you know, it meant, like, just, like, a lot of things about my daily routine were disrupted. I mean, I was grateful to my mom for coming to keep an eye on the repairs, because they've, in the past, the building will send people who try to, like, pull one over. Like, they've multiple times just sent painters to solve, like, structural problems, which I hope goes without saying is not correct. You don't simply paint over, like, massive leaks and be like, I'm sure that's fine. So they've done that more than once, so, you know, it's our standard procedure to have someone watching it, but, you know, it's pretty much happens on work days, because that's when people be working, so, I'm like locked in my bedroom with my headphones on, trying to just like focus on work as much as possible, really struggling. Can't really make lunch normally, can't really, normally I sort of get up to stretch a few times as part of a medical condition I've developed in the past 3 years, and it's been just like not being able to do anything that sort of like punctuates the day normally or gives me a break from the screen. Just really on top of everything going on was really difficult. And as the day went on, I was like, I really want to stream, but it's just the wrong call. Like, it's just, I don't know if it would be any good, but like I just shouldn't do it. Like, I should just take a minute. A thing I like never do for myself, but like I just had to be done. So today's the first day things kind of went normally since the Friday before last. So I got that going for me, I guess. The problem is that there are other things that I've kind of put on hold because I didn't want to deal with 8 problems at a time, but I'm sort of coming to the realization that, like, just the fact that this has been ongoing for so long has sort of meant that, like, I've just been on adrenaline for, like, 6 weeks. Like, I haven't been able to sleep normally. I've had to deal with, like, intensive work issues and like nonsensical vitriol from people, and just like there's a reason I feel terrible all the time is because like there's been no break from anything at all. It's just been like full throttle all the time in the worst possible way. Not even able to solve the puzzles by licking things. Thanks, funny godmother. I'm glad that you like Grogu. I was gonna wear my Lucky Grogu shirt yesterday. That obviously didn't happen. Internet cable to your unit is damaged. It has to be so the flooding's gotten so bad that the actual physical connections of the internet to your apartment are disrupted? Lord, how did we both end up with physical internet disruptions in the same week? Statistically, that feels improbable. I mean, mine makes more sense. My router hadn't been replaced in probably like 12 or 13 years. Although, when I told my friend who like works in like internet structure stuff that I had to replace my router to make things work, he's like, I don't even like understand that. Like, that probably shouldn't have, like, it doesn't really have moving parts. It should probably just be fine. I'm like, yeah, but I replaced the router and it worked again, so I have to assume that was the problem. Like, the internet service provider, as loath as I am to trust them, insisted that it wasn't on their end, and I have evidence to suggest that it wasn't, so. But yeah, that was the longer version of the story than I guess I expected to tell. But the summary of that, the TLDR, is like, boy, man, everything is bad and I'm tired. And it's not the end of it. Not yet. But thanks everybody for showing up and for the resubs. And wow. I think someone drilled a hole in your cable line. I mean, listen, come check out how the cable's laid in my apartment sometime. I don't doubt that even one of their technicians could have done it, to be entirely honest with you. Because, like, man, they did, like, the most insane... Like, when my dad came and, like, saw what they did when they got the internet set up in here, he's like, why would you ever do this? Like, the short version of, like, what they did is, like, obviously the apartment is essentially made of 4 walls. There's a way that they could have run the, like, cable from the entry point pretty much in a straight line back to the bedroom so that, you know, cable could be accessed where it needed to be. Instead of going in a straight line, they wrangled cable against all 3 other walls and, like, through the doorway of the bathroom so that it could reach the back corner. Which is just, like, literally just in, like, a... just in like a trigonometry sense, clearly the worst way to do that. It would certainly make an appropriate pillow embroidery. Everything is bad and I'm tired. It's certainly closer to my general sensibility than those cheeky ones about, like, day drinking. But that's mostly just because I don't drink. I definitely understand the mood, for sure. Could be one of the terrible neighbors that left the garage clicker. I mean, like, here's the thing. I'm inclined... I know that story. I think you shared it in my recent Dorf Romantic stream. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Obviously, that sucked and shouldn't have happened. I feel like there's a very good chance that the neighbor who did that, it was a mistake and they may not even have been aware that it happened. But, like, that's definitely on the building, I think, most of all. I feel like the building, the HOA people are the one who had the intent. Yikes. Yikes forever. If I could be bothered to bring that up on the soundboard, I would. Instead, I'm gonna play Murder by Numbers. You know, if I was a more proactive person, I'd start marking these endpoints because I try to put, when I post the videos to YouTube, I try to put those in there for people who want to skip the talking bit or whatever. Yeah, thank you for that. Appreciate it, Demolition. Anyway, this is like the loud screen. I probably shouldn't like talk over this for eternity. Let's get to a boat. So I think the last thing we did is we like talked to E. Iron. We basically just started this case. To recap, we didn't get very far because I mostly did another sad talk last week, and then we solved 2 puzzles. This here on the right, this is a new character. This is E. Iron. I call her that because it's spelled E-I-R-I-N, and that's not how you write Aaron. So she invited, well, no, she didn't invite us. Some mysterious informant told Detective Cross, who we've been working with on these various investigations, that she may be implicated in the death of Frank Pritchell, the guy who died at the end of the first case, who sort of tied everything together for the most part. And so he duplicitously used our name to get an invite to this Hollywood party because our main character, Honor Mizrahi, is a Hollywood actress turned flying robot detective. And when we got here, we started looking around trying to find the informant, and instead we found a human heart filled with a citrus cocktail. And then she was like, "Oh, I hope you liked my bloody drink." Because she's like an absolute weirdo. But investigate first is how the rules of the game work, so let's solve a puzzle immediately and not worry about the story. It's really basically as far as we got. We met her and she was weird, the end. Okay, so we'll start here. Almost always working with like a 15 by 15 grid these days. When we got a big number like 12, we get all but the difference between 15 and 12 as overlap, which in this case is 3, so we'll run that down. Do we know if the audio levels are normal? I had to like break down a lot of my streaming setup in order to accommodate everything that went on this week. And as a result, it feels weird, but I can't tell if that's psychosomatic. Seems weird? Seems fine? Okay. Oh, the cable issue has been since the drop during your stream 2 weeks ago. That actually does make sense. And that has been inconsistent since then. That's just garbage. I mean, like, listen. As much as I hate Spectrum, because they're bad, I'm just going to fill in all the right side. They're the rightmost group for each one of these columns. I'm on the service itself, I've almost never had issues with, which should have immediately tipped me off to the fact that it was probably my own hardware, but, like, I just didn't want that to be true because it meant I had to take charge of the problem, and also the guy who was doing my, like, outsourced robot chat tech session was, like, doing that, like, super insincere garbage that's really triggering to me. Someone who also has to work in that field and is much better at it than him. And, like, I've had a lot of issues with Spectrum support staff, but the service itself, I almost never had issues with, and except for, like, the time that, like, a garbage truck, like, cut the physical connection to our building, and they solved that in, like, less than 3 hours. So, like, Spectrum is kind of a bad company, but, like, there are things that they take seriously, and they do them well. And again, I promise you, I don't say that lightly, because, like, yikes, forever. One of the worst experiences I've ever had in my life is the experience I had with their customer service, like, trying to drop off hardware. Just a absolute disaster. We immediately have, like, most of this column filled in here, just by nature of, like, filling in these right-hand groups. So, like, we got a group of 4. That's obviously one of our groups of 4. Then we have another group that's more than one. So clearly this is the middle group of 4. And then we have a definite start point, so we know where both the groups of 4 go. And then we had one of these filled in, so that has to be one of the remaining groups of 1. So just one of these 2 spaces filled in, and then that entire column's done. So it's a weird start. Also should be able to determine, so this column next to it only has 3 groups, a 3, a 1, and a 5. So I can't, if I try to separate these 2 filled in spaces, that makes 2 groups of 1. This column doesn't have 2 groups of 1, so it has to be our group of 3. So again, one of these is going to be filled in. Down here we have a total of 6 spaces, and 5 of them need to be filled in, so we can conclude that those need to be filled in. Then we can take a look down here at these groups. We don't know for sure that they go all the way to the right. As an aside, we know that this can't be filled in because this is blanked out and there's no groups of 1, only larger groups, which in turn tells us that this ought to be filled in, which, you know, that seems to track with the row. That's all good. But going back to the original point here, the overload principle tells us that even if these go to the edge, then they still have to extend at least as far as this and as this. That gives us a little more context. This also has to be the bottommost group for its column, so this has to be filled in to make that a finished group of 3. Interestingly, just by nature of the fact that there's only 2 remaining groups in this column, and neither one of them is 1, I know that just has to be blank right away. And then, if we look at what remains, like, I need a group of 4, there's only 1 space that fits, and then I need a group of 2, and that has to be part of that. You're impressed I could talk through this? I mean, it's just what I call externalizing. It's something I've just practiced by doing streaming for too many years with, you know, the handful of you who come out, and I appreciate all of you dearly. But, like, it's just a matter of, like, the same thing that you're already thinking, just, you know, let the people know. This is not the easiest game to start on it, let me tell you, because, like, this is the concern I have more than anything is just that, like, I don't know that that's interesting to watch, but, you know, people are here for it, so I'm here for you. Okay, so now we've got similar to filling in the right-hand column here, we kind of have a new right-hand column, because everything here's already filled in. There's no variables over here. So we can treat these as the rightmost edge for any groups that are next in line. So here we got like 2 in a row, 2 in a row, and 1. So that gives us a little bit of information. This down here has to be part of the bottommost group of 2, but, like, I don't have enough context for that to mean very much. The next group up would be 3. Could theoretically fit here, but we also have to consider what the groups in this column are. And there's only 1 group other than this bottom 2 that has more than 1 space next to each other, like we already show here, so that has to be a group of 3. And since here's an endpoint, that means that has to be exactly where the group of 3 goes. There's a few different variations on what the 1s can be, so I can't fill those in yet, but, like, we'll get around to them. You got this for this week. I'm glad people are finding out about this game and buying it. I know Letters Yay bought it also. Also, hi, Volpixie. Sorry I missed you coming in. Don't know anything about these types of puzzles until you saw the stream and learned, and they're so fun. They're pretty good. I don't know. The one thing I don't know is, like, whether these are the best example of these puzzles. Like, I enjoy the puzzles in this game, but I do... It's a little weird to me that so frequently in this game, when I'm done the puzzle, I can't guess what the thing is. I think you gifted it a few times. That's probably also true. But yeah, I mean, it's also tricky because we're, like, pretty late in the game, so, like, you know, it's a little tougher to sort of externalize all of the thought processes. I know sometimes I'm shortcutting, and I'm trying not to. Again, we have sort of another... We just have everything filled in from the right continuously. We know the next group in line is 2, so that's got to be filled in. And then that doesn't leave us with too many spaces to fit a group of 6. Altogether, that's 5, 6, 7, 8. So all but 2 of them should be filled in on either side. That's probably helpful for later. There's only a group of 4. Oh, this one's also a group of 6. But it has to fit out of 9. So... yeah, we get slightly less overlap there. It's likely that they will line up, but they may not. I think this is what we can prove. Is like 6 out of 9, 3 of them are filled in. 6 out of 8, 4 of them are filled in. And that still leaves the flexibility for everything else to be filled as needed. Now, all of that is like a great big game that we've talked so far, except now, got a lot of small numbers left over. Take a look at this. We now have 10 spaces and 1, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them need to be filled in. We should be able to get some overlap from that middle group of 4, I think. But like it's gonna look a little weird. So the leftmost farthest possibility is like that, and then the rightmost version looks like space. 1, 2. Yeah, that seems about right. So, like, these should be filled in. What's interesting is, if you look at this column, there's only one group of 3. Nothing bigger than that. So, like, this automatically has to be its own group by itself. Okay. Where to look next? Probably not here. 3, 1, 1. Or 3... Oh, 3, 1, 3, actually. That's got some possibility. I don't know where that 1's gonna go. Very surprised by the outcome of the first puzzle. Gosh, at this point, I definitely don't remember what the first puzzle is. I mean, I remember the setting. Actually, wait, is the first puzzle like the body or something in the first case? Or is it like after the body's discovered and like you're in the break room because nobody knows who the suspect is? The first puzzle was a tampon. Ah, there's definitely a tampon in the first case. I didn't think it was the first puzzle off the top of my head. Yeah. I don't pull any punches there. That's for sure. So... let's see something. 1, 2, 3. I could fit a 1 here. And then, like a 1 could go somewhere around, you know... like, basically any configuration in here can fit a 3. Might be just short of a meaningful... I think the middle 1 is too much of a variable to figure out where the 3s go. I mean, if it was as simple as there was no 1 in the middle, I would know, like, both of these had to be filled in, because, like, the difference between 5 and 3 is 2. So much like filling in this 12 at the start, you would just like, all but 2 in this space are filled in, which is only 1, but it would still tell you something. But because there's the 1, and like it can be off to either side, I don't think I can really conclusively draw where the 3 should go. I might be wrong, because I'm not sure where else I would be looking. Well, I guess one thing I can do is go down here. I ruled these out for various means, and I filled in one spot thanks to this column. But if we look at this row, this rightmost, this has to be part of a group of 5. So it could reach here, or it could reach only to the left, but either way, we'd have to fill in 4 total spaces. And that lets us look at a few bottom groups. Might give us a little bit of a jump start on things. Oh, and that's interesting. Because I can count that up from the bottom, that finishes off this group of 5. So this one's empty, which means this has to be filled. Which then lets me conclude that that's the rightmost group of 1. That's where that goes. And similarly, and I think I could have done this before, but I have these both filled in, so that has to be the bottom group of 2, and then this ends up getting filled in to make the group of 4 at the right of this row. And then this one's not filled in because we already have our big group of 12. Okay, no idea where the 2 is gonna go in here. Way too much space for all these small groups. Okay. Because I managed to determine that this one space is blank, I actually know quite a bit about what remains in this row. Because now I know that none of these can be included in the group of 4 that I'm missing, and then that leaves only 5 spaces, so most of them have to be filled in. And just like over here, the biggest group in this column is 3. And since we already have 3 together, I can't add anything on either side. Don't know where the ones on either side will go, but they won't be attached. Don't think I know anything about this just yet. It seems very plausible. Does it? Hold on. 1, 2, space. 1, 2, 3, 4. Huh. Is it not possible for these to be separated? 2, space. I mean, like, these could just be blank, and then, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, space, and then there's enough room for 3. So, yeah, I don't think I have enough information to determine whether this space is filled in or blank. If I did, I could probably do something with the column. Space. Nothing there to work with. Yeah, I want more help in this row. I don't know how to get myself there. 3. Okay. Alright, I think I got something here. So in this column, the next group up from this bottom 2 is a group of 1. If I put it as low as possible, I'd still need to leave a space, and then the next group would be 3 spaces together. So there's no way I can fit both the 1 and the 3 here, but the 1 has to go somewhere in these 4 spaces. That means that this is the next group up, because I can't fit both of them here. I can't fit, like, another thing between them. So this has to be the next one above the 1. And since I have an endpoint, I know that a group of 3 reaches exactly to there. That tells me that for this row, this space has to be filled in, because this is too close to the right for it not to be part of that group of 3 that I'm missing. So even if it reaches to here, it also has to reach out to here. I still don't think that's enough information to figure out where that group of 1 is. You are back, Demolition. Welcome back. How's everybody else doing? I'm out of the loop. There's like a hierarchy of needs thing that's been dominating my life recently. This year I've been really doing my best to keep in touch with people. It's a skill that I have not developed naturally, does not come naturally to me, and so, like, there are a lot of people who I have not kept in close of touch with as perhaps I should have in the past that I've been trying to keep up with. And man, that has really been difficult lately because I'm like, I basically have to be selfish to live. Sorry, your sleep got interrupted, Demolition. I've been dealing with that for a while now, so I definitely empathize there. All these small numbers. I'm not sure how I'm going to fill in all these small numbers, to be entirely honest with you. Checking over things and still not seeing anything obvious I can do. Like, I could easily fit a one here and finish off this column. Or maybe it goes up here and it's one of the ones there. Likewise, I could put like this here and make that the group of 2 that way. Oh, hang on. This one is filled in because it's the last space and I need that group of 1. I ruled this out when I finished the 12, right? Didn't pay attention to that. So that means this one has to be blank so that this can be by itself. And then that means this one has to be filled in. And that makes that group of 2 for the row. And that doesn't do a lot for me, but it does close off that corner a little bit. Doesn't really narrow anything down here immediately. Oh, hang on. Hang on a second. I have the 2 bottom groups here. That means that nothing between these groups can be filled in. Which also then means that this has to be filled in. Because that group has to be 2. And then I know that this is empty because I finished that group of 5. And then I know this group of 5 down here extends out this way. And also that this is by itself. Because that bottom is a group of 1. Thank you, Angel, for the continued gift sub to an axolotl pain, Jakey. And thank you for hanging out, Jakey. Hope you're doing alright. You missed the extremely long rant about how miserable I'm doing. I hope you're doing better than that. How did this happen? How long has this just been sitting here and I haven't noticed this? So the third group from the right is a group of 1, so that should be by itself. And then the next group over is a group of 4, which can only fit here. That's just been like that for like 10 minutes. That sucks. That's me being bad at puzzle. Right, but by extension, I was looking at this column and I noticed something that I have 3 spaces left in this top area, and 2 of them have to be filled in. And this one's by itself, and like 2 next to each other can't be filled in because that would be a different group size. So this has to be our next group of 1, which then has to be separated on all sides, which then means this should be our group of 2, and then also would become a group of 1 for the purpose of that row. So this has to be filled in, making that its own group. And then for this column, I mean, this has to be a group of 2. The bare minimum I can fit above it would be another group up here. I'm not even technically sure I know. Hang on a second. I mean, this has to be a group of 2 because it has to be one of the 2 top groups, so I can close that off by itself. Right, the game has shortcutted for me, but I was about to check, like, would there be a way to put, like, 1, 2, space, 1, space? No, there's not enough room to put everything below this, so it has to be the second group. And then we know that this space has to be filled in because 2 of these 3 have to be filled in. The middle would overlap between them. Watching sad TV shows to hopefully release emotions. I hope that goes well for you, Jakey. The thing that's most made me feel better in a long time was this week's Mandalorian. For some reason, I was just like, this is the thing I want to watch. I have had, you know, mixed feelings of the previous 2 overall, but I'm generally happy with it. But this week, It's not even like I think it was like an amazing standalone episode. It's just like, I like what's going on here. This is the thing I want to watch. Right, so we filled in a lot of random nonsense around here. And we have this space filled in. Our topmost group for this column has to be 3. Can't fit 3 above this space, so that means it has to be part of the group of 3. So it has to reach up as far as it can and then no further. We could use the right wall principle here to determine that this is a group of 1, because everything to the right is already filled in, and we have 1 filled in space. Canceled your Disney Plus after Willow got canceled. Yeah, I saw that this week. I was surprised. Oh, hang on. Filled in this space when looking at this column. There's only 1 missing group here, and it's this continuous 6. So, like, neither of these are filled in, and that one I just filled in has to be filled in. That's just how that works. This also has to be filled in now that we've blanked this. That finishes that group of 2 there. And once again, we can use the right wall principle. We got a 1. We got a 1. This is part of the only remaining group, which is 2. Which means everything to the left of that can't be filled in. You said Willow isn't canceled, it's on hiatus. I mean, I saw a story that suggested there was an announcement this week. I don't know if that was speculation based on them not giving a new season date or something. But I heard something to that effect. I'm not trying to spread rumors or nothing. Oh, hang on. Since we filled in some random nonsense in the middle, we've already got our 2 groups of 2. This is no longer continuous, so it can't be part of that group of 6 I'm missing. And now we only have like 7 continuous spaces, so like these 5 have to be filled in, and then 1 of the remaining 2 is filled in. Can I do anything with that? Ooh, actually, I think I can do something with this column. So, these are 3 continuous spaces, which means they can't be our top group of 2. It's too many spaces. In order for this to be our group of 4, the group above it has to be 2. And the only way to fit a group of 2 and have it be separate from this is to fit it exactly like so. Which then fills this out. That means that whole row is done. Oh yeah, and now that we've filled out this top row, we know that this is the top group. And these 5 spaces? Yeah, have to contain a group of 4. So everything but the one on either end has to be filled in. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, we did a number on this row over time. There's now only 4 spaces left, and I'm still missing a whole group of 3, so all but 1 on either side. Ooh, interesting. The only group I'm missing here is 3, and I have 1 of these spaces filled in. So anything that can't be a continuous group of 3 with this space isn't eligible to be filled in anymore. That's useful. Well, if we look at this second row down, this here is supposed to be a group of 3, and I've eliminated all but this. So yeah, that seems to finish most of this column, and also that part of the row. And similar to what we did down here, now the only thing I'm missing is a group of 2 with 1 space filled in. So anything that's not immediately adjacent can't be filled in anymore. Oh, fun fact. This space can't be filled in because it is 1 space by itself, and this column only has groups of 2 and 4. So like that can't be part of either of those groups. So that fills that in, and that's got to be blank to finish off that group of 4. Other stuff we can determine. This is somehow the top group for its column, so that should be separated out. I don't think I can do anything there quite yet. Cook the pizza you got today. Stranger Things Surfer Boy Pizza. Wait, is that a Stranger Things branded frozen pizza? I'm curious about the logistics of this, Jakey. Or did they specify what a surfer pizza is in the show and I've just forgotten that detail? That seems perhaps more likely. We can use the wall principle here. So we've got a top group of 1, and every space up to this point is accounted for. That's our group of 2. And now we've got 6 spaces, and 4 of them have to be filled in, so the 2 in the middle are the overlap of all possible iterations. Really feels like these 2 are filled in, but I don't know that yet. We've narrowed this down a little bit more, so 3 of these 4 spaces have to be filled in, which again leaves us all but 1 on either side. That actually ends up telling us that it's our top group of 1, which then fills that in, which then does confirm that this is our top group of 2 for the column. And also, because we blanked that out, that makes that our group of 2, which then makes this the top 1, which then means this has to be filled in. That group for the row isn't finished yet. And then that makes that the top group of 2, and then we can use the wall principle to count that down as the group of 4. And then taking that even further, there's only 5 spaces left for one group of 3 to fit in, so the middle one counts as overlap there. And then this row has no groups larger than 2 remaining in it, so those 2 spaces I've filled in there are their own group. Interestingly, if we go and look at this leftmost column again, now neither of these spaces can be part of the group of 4, and there's only exactly 4 spaces that I can fill in there. That somehow finishes this row. And makes this leftmost group of 1, 2, and 2 respectively. Now we've got 3 continuous spaces to make the final group of 4, so this one's blank. And then this space we get to count out as the leftmost group that also completes that row. Probably gonna finish this one. Gotten very good at this game. Thanks, Demolition. I definitely feel like I had to reach another level to start finishing these puzzles. I don't know if that was spurred on by that one optional puzzle that I got really frustrated with and had to use the hint to finish just to round out that stream. But, like, I'm definitely noticing, like, smaller things I wasn't checking before, and they make a lot of difference this late in the game. You know what the next thing I'm looking at is? A lot of bottom groups of 1. Hang on, so this has to be filled in because this 3 group wasn't finished, so that has to count out 1 extra space before finishing the row. Also finishes this column. Any way that this is something? Alternative would be like this and this, so that seems to be overlap. Now, how many spaces total is this? I want to presume something. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yeah, I think the only possibilities are like far left, far right, or extremes. And no matter what, I think these 2 spaces are filled in. So this is the leftmost, and extreme would have these 2 filled in, and rightmost would have these 2 filled in, but this one's always filled in. Rightmost and extremes would have these 2 filled in, and leftmost would have these 2 filled in. So these 2 should be filled in. That also completes this column. And then there's only 1 space I could put the missing group for this row, which then makes that the bottom group of 1 remaining for both of those rows. And then it looks like extremes was the solution after all. And then again, we have a situation where I need a group of 2, and there's only 1 space to put it. So, like, that's all blank. This seems to be done. This has to be filled in, and I guess that was the last one. It's the page film script. I mean, it's kind of just some black on some white. It could be practically anything if you put your imagination into it. Points. I do love any numerical thing that rapidly ticks like that because it just reminds me of Yu-Gi-Oh! And for some reason that was always like a positive association, was like the life point box they would put on the screen, and then when you took damage it would tick down to your new life total. Huh, looks like some kind of script. Sleeping with the Fishes, written by Iron Kino. As your detective rank still F. Well, the explanation for that anime is that you start every case at F rank, which, frankly, given the way that our character behaves in the story, doesn't seem entirely unreasonable. But the detective rank is based per case. So it always starts at F, and you know you've done everything if you reach S. When you reach S, that means you've done every possible puzzle with no in-game assistance penalty. I think you need maximum points, or at least most of them, in order to get S rank. This must be Iron's next movie. I wonder why she left a copy out in the open. I can't believe we found a real-life screenplay.
Oh my gosh.
Can we read it? I am interested in seeing if her movies are as weird as people say they are. I mean, this game takes place in the 90s. You could use Blockbuster for that. What's Blockbuster? Get out of my chat, youngin'! You're on my lawn. I guess a quick skim won't hurt anyone. I'm so excited! Somehow this isn't an anagram puzzle. Otter, I don't feel so good. Oh no, Thanos! No! Oh, I know what you mean. Why did so many people have to die, and in so many horrible ways? And why did everyone talk in riddles? See, it's the TV show Dark, huh? It's true, Twitter hasn't been invented yet. Ah, simpler time. Artsy ultra-violence isn't my kind of thing either, but at least it's just a script. It's not real. The script can't hurt you! You've got 2 episodes in. 2 episodes in on what demolition? Let's talk to Iron. I can't go anywhere else, right? Boat is just... Oh, have you started watching Dark? Dark is such a weird show, man. Oh, we can't go anywhere because we're on a boat. That's good. That's good attention to detail. Just take me back. Dark is like a really well-made and acted show that's also just like... I don't know, man. Oh, that's right, the new shot. Like, I was... earlier today, this week I've been finally watching through Season 2 of Alice in Borderland, which I like Season 2 a lot better than Season 1. I don't know if there's a specific reason, but I've been watching through that, and when I logged in to do that today, I saw that they finally added Season 2 of Shadow and Bone, which I had heard nothing about coming out, so I gotta watch that at some point, too. Let's talk to Iron. She's not creepy at all. Is it okay if we ask you a few questions? There are copies of my new script around. I would be very interested to hear your thoughts. I'm looking for someone. Oh, have you been... I didn't necessarily think Alice in Borderland is something you'd watch, Funny Godmother. Guess most of the things I could ask you about where you're at are probably spoiler related. I think it's Japanese, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like I had a better handle on that when Season 1 came out, but I'm pretty sure it's Japanese. I mean, it's clearly, like, set in Japan. Don't speak either of the languages relevant to know that for sure. No, I guess I know enough Japanese at this point to say it's Japanese. It's more violent and chaotic. It is that, for sure. I don't know. I'm weird in that I find the Japanese genre of deadly games to be comforting in the way that there is structure and rules to what's going on. Is it loosely based in Alice in Wonderland? No. My answer to that is an extremely hard not at all. There are, like, a handful of references that, like, allude to characters from Alice in Wonderland, and it's kind of about someone going to a weird land. Beyond that, absolutely not, in no meaningful way, no, not at all. That is my answer. It was something that kind of, like, tilted me in Season 1, because it kind of took a while for me to sort of get what the reference was, and then I was like, oh, okay. It reminds me of a few years ago, Candace Cameron did like a Hallmark holiday movie that in the marketing, she was like, it's based on The Wizard of Oz. And no, it's not. It isn't. There's like a character who was like not emotional and like she was the Tin Man. And then like at the end of the movie, like they started saying stuff like there's no place like home. But like the plot of the movie had absolutely nothing to do with Alice in Wonderland, or in that case, Wizard of Oz. And that like movie had nothing to do with like someone going to a strange land and learning about themselves or anything like that. So like that movie was not about Wizard of Oz, and Alice in Borderland is not about Alice in Wonderland. It's good for what it is. There are some times it goes darker than it maybe needs to, but I know it's like, I'm pretty sure it's like based on a manga, so I think it's just what the story is. But like, I don't know, I like the Season 2's going, I feel like, more into the characters and their motivations, which makes like the heavier stuff seem less random and unnecessary. Hard metaphor is super deeply ingrained. Yeah, but like, I don't know. It's not like the Queen of Hearts is the person like ruling over the strange world or whatever. It's just cards. Like I put that on the same level of reference as like Alice is Zarisu. It's like, yeah, I get it, but like it's not. It doesn't really like have anything to do with that story. Like, I don't want to spoil anything, but I haven't misspoken. Anyway, let's talk about this script, which probably is based on The Little Mermaid, for all I know. Because we're just talking about things that definitely don't reference their own source material. Have you seen anyone wearing a silver bracelet? Not that I'm trying to undermine you by finding an informant to your criminal activities or anything, but could you just point them out to me? There's no difference between steel and silver at a distance. You have to look closer to know the truth. What? Perhaps you should read my script and find out. Man, I don't think I like this lady. I've heard some pretty weird rumors about... I don't want to talk about that right now. Alright, I guess I will present the script that it's implied I've read. What do you think of it? It was... visceral. Life is at its best when it's magnified, examined in the smallest detail. I think death is also. I'm not really sure what the story was about. I kind of got lost after the fourth dream sequence. A woman takes to the sea to escape persecution for the murder of a smuggler. It's about crime and punishment, justice and revenge. The open ocean is a symbol of freedom, but it's also a place of isolation. The darkest depths hold the bloodiest secrets. Man, I don't like this lady. Why did you let her escape in the end? Aren't the good guys supposed to win? Good and bad are unreliable labels. Can't a good person do bad things? Does that apply to you, too? Of course, all my work is a reflection of myself. Well, you've certainly got the boat. You aren't planning on murdering anyone, are you? You don't tell me it's entrapment. Is that how entrapment works? No one seems to know what entrapment is. I like you. Hey, can you give me a... Oh, hi, you must be Iron. You are the one who came with honor. My brother tells me you are a very bad actor. You won't find anything here today. Oh, and she's off. You think she's right? Yeah, you are a very bad actor. Waka waka! Any luck finding your informant? Not yet. There's something fishy about one of the lifeboats over there. It's filled with fish. I was speaking literally, of course. Perhaps it's a fishing boat. Why, yada. I'm serious. It looks like the release lever has been pulled. I don't mean to state the obvious, but wouldn't the lifeboat be gone if someone pulled the release? The mechanism must have been jammed, but someone tried to release it. I want you to go and take a closer look. I'm incapable of solving nonogram puzzles. I do it myself, but Ray said that area's off limits and he won't take his eyes off me. I think he suspects something. Or maybe you've got an admirer. Ugh. Okay, Scout, let's go search the lifeboat. Beep boop. Alright. We get to start much the same way as the last one, with all but 3 on either side to fill out the overlap for a group of 12. This one's much less useful since it's not touching an edge, which gives you a reasonable amount of information. Um, 6 is too small for the purpose of overlap on a grid this big. Any of these filled out? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. No. It's probably even smaller, so no. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Ooh, that's close. This column is very close. It's literally close to the point... You should be able to get overlap out of, like, a lot of it. 4, 5, 6, 7. Space 1... space 2, or like 1, 2, space 1, space 1, blankety blank. That should be right. I'm gonna leave those purple just to clue myself in or out, perhaps. I'm pretty sure all of that overlap should count. And if it does, we get kind of a lot of information, because we have a lot of, like, rightmost large groups in this puzzle. So, we get to use the overload principle to say, you know, this could reach all the way to the edge. And if it did, to make a group of 6, it would still fill out to here. So, no matter where that group of 6 is located, since this is part of it, those have to be filled in. Same goes here, and here, and in this case it's only 4, so we get an extra 1 out here. Here I'm not even convinced this is the rightmost group, so can't really do anything there. But down here we get to do the same as above, because that's a group of 7. Yeah. Anything with that. How big are the groups around here? So, the topmost group in this column is 2, so this has to be at least 1 group down. That means in order to separate this group from the group of 2 above it, the group of 2 has to go there. And then that gives us a hard start point for the next group of 7. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we know there's only 4 spaces remaining for that column. So, there's really only 1 flex point. That's a good start. It has to be part of our topmost group of 5. So we already have, like, the lowest down a group of 5 could count from here. It's here. I obviously can't fit a whole 5 up here. So then this would have to be like 2, and this has to be the group of 3. So that tells us a couple things. One, since this is part of the bottommost group of 3, we get to overload that space. And I think, actually, there would be no way to fit a group of 2, a group of 1, and a separating space to the right of this. So that means that this has to be our rightmost group of 2. So then our 5 is over here for the row. But going back to this column, it's possible that this group of 5 reaches up here, but it can't go all the way to the top. I don't think I quite have enough to narrow that down any further, though. At the moment. Look at this row. Everything but the leftmost group is just 1. It's just a 1 by itself. So it's probably the case that that's all blanked out. Because, like, even if this was our group of 3, I need to fit, like, 4 other groups. That's just not possible. So both of these have to be groups of 1. This might be 1, but I don't know for sure. That does give us an endpoint on this, which is the top group of 5 for its column. It seems likely this is filled in, but I don't know that yet. Okay. So now that I've ruled this space out, by sorting this group, I know that the bottom group of 2 has to reach to here, which then tells me that this has to be one of the groups of 1, and then that's the other one. Okay. So technically that could be part of the 6, so I don't think I could do anything here yet. We have something in the bottom, the bottom row now, which means that we can do overload for it. It can reach here, or 1, 2, 4, 5. Then we get to count that out as the bottom group, and both of these are the respective bottom groups of 3 for their columns. So this column's done now. This one, we just have to figure out which of these 2 spaces is filled in. Here is a similar situation. This can't be filled in, though. Can it? Yes, I only have 3 filled in. I need 5. So actually, this is filled in, and then one of the remaining ones is filled in. That's the actual situation. Anything further down out of the 12? Actually, if we look at this row now, I only have 1 continuous group of 6 to find. So it can't be in this single space by itself. That means this group of 2 gets filled in up here. But also, I can't fit like a whole group of 6 in just 3 spaces, obviously. So now we're down to 9 spaces. So then the middle 3 would be an overlap of anything I could do there. But similarly, we've got this space over here filled in toward the right side of the row. There's only 2 groups in this row. A 2 and a 6. Can't fit the 6 over here. We've already got an endpoint, so it has to be exactly 2, and then those are blank. Then we find ourselves with another 6 out of 9 available spaces, so it should look just like the one above. Similarly here, 5 out of 7 spaces filled in. So yeah, the middle 3 should be overlap for that. If you take a look at the columns, I mean, this is automatically part of the group of 7, which I guess tells us that could reach to the bottom, but then 3, 4, 5, 6 has to reach up here necessarily. Could go higher. Here, we sort of know the inverse of sorts, and that we have 4 continuous spaces, and then 1 on either side will finish that group of 5. So, this space can't be connected to the group of 5, and that has to be blank, which then limits what we're looking at here for this group of 8. So all told, that's now 10 available spaces. So I guess that just fills in this, right? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 7, 8. Yeah, that should be correct. And then we know, counting from the bottom, that this is our bottom 2, and the space above it then becomes the next group of 1. Do we know in space? Quite, I don't think. Now, I guess how this has worked out, I know that this group of 7 can't reach to the edge anymore. Let's think about this row for a second. The rightmost group is 1. If I tried to make this farthest right space a 1, then there would be 2 groups of 1 here, so that's not possible. So that means that this has to be the rightmost group. And then that also means that this is a group of 2, because it's the next group over, and that's only 2 spaces, not more. Okay. 2, 3, 4, 7. Okay. I don't think I have that narrowed down just yet. I don't know whether this group of 4 goes to the edge and then separates and this is a 1, or if it's just 4 continuous spaces here. I don't know which 2 groups among the many groups of 1 in this row I have accounted for here, so I can't do anything there. I think I have that yet. Check something. If I consider this group of 3, is it still possible to fill everything in? 3 space 1, 2, 3, 4 space 2. No. So it's not possible for that space I know to be filled in to be part of the group of 3. So that means that there's only one possible position for that group of 3 to go. And then this would have to be the immediate next group in line, which is 4. That should give me a decent amount of information because that's all along the top row, so I can count those down as the topmost group for their respective columns. 1, that's already done. Don't get any information about the X rows, but that's fine. One of them's already done. 1, 1, and then 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's got to be blank. And then we got some new spaces that we can count as the rightmost groups where appropriate. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cool. That's all good. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then blank that out. Same again. And now we know that since this one's filled in, these continuous 4 are a group, and then this is the group of 1. I think it's pretty safe to say that that's filled in, but we also now have a start point for the 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Which in turn means that this can't reach to the other side because we've nudged over the possibilities. There's a lot of corner work done, including this space, which has to be filled in because I've counted for everything else in that column. Close to finishing this rightmost column. A little less close to finishing the one next to it. Ooh. Oh, hang on. Now, I've spotted a problem. This row doesn't make sense. I'm not sure where that went wrong.
Sir?
Huh. Problem is, I don't know how far back to go. This seems right. I think this is right. Time to nuke? Not just yet. So, like, this all should be correct. I think. Pretty sure everything that led up to... Well, maybe not. 7 came as a result of filling this in. But this should be correct. Well, here's a problem, too. I think this is the problem. I think the problem is simply that I just counted too many spaces there. Everything else seems right. I'm gonna go off that being wrong. That honestly seems like the most likely thing, is that I just did 5 spaces instead of 4. Because everything else over here looks good. And I can then address the existing problem by just counting that out 4 spaces. And then that's just where the group of 1 is instead. I think that's probably true. We also know if this space is filled in that this is blank. Because it then has to be the topmost group of 1. Yeah, I guess, how's it going? I mean, if the fact that I didn't stream yesterday is not an automatic indication, along with the sad clown Discord message I posted, not great. Busy rearranging an embarrassing amount of action figures in the apartment. Like, you don't have enough of them? How would you be embarrassed? Explain. And now that we've done those various things, we fill this in. It finishes the group of 3 here, and it fills in a logical space for the missing group of 1 there. Yeah, I think we're in good shape. I think I found the issue, and it was just like essentially a misclick of sorts. There's only 1 group here. Now that I know this space is filled in, it has to be continuous to there, so that row is done. 2, 4, 7. Well, this can't be part of the group of 3, because there's only 1 space there. Which then, in theory, means that this should be filled in as 2 of the 3 of these need to make a group. And then that would be the topmost group for the column. You're not embarrassed by the number, you're embarrassed by the lack of shelving and the overall investment. I'm still not sure I fully understand. I'm not hearing anything that's actually embarrassing. One of the sad things about all the drama and nonsense I've been dealing with is, like, for a long time I've put off, like, really properly organizing my copious Magic cards, which are a thing that I collect, Magic the Gathering, and I'd, like, really, like, committed myself to, like, starting that process, like, 3 days before the leaks began. So I immediately had to, like, lock everything down and put it away where it wouldn't be near the leaks, because, as you might imagine, collectible cards, pretty susceptible to water damage. So I wouldn't say that's, like, the worst part of all this, but it's, like, one of those mild tragedies. So I'm only missing a group of 4 in this column, huh? I already got 2 spaces in place. So Overload tells me this one's also filled in because I know where the end point is. And then since a group of 4 couldn't reach up to here, neither of those can be it. Magic, the only card game I play. It's the only thing I collect in paper. I'll still occasionally buy like a digital version of like Yu-Gi-Oh! And play that to see what the game has developed since I played it when I was younger. But that game has kind of turned into something I'm not a huge fan of. I still like Yu-Gi-Oh! And I'll still watch the anime occasionally, but it's like very like intensely like combo oriented, and like I don't even like that stuff in Magic, and I think that game does combos better typically. Geki says he does Pokemon TCG Online. I tried that a little bit for a while. I kind of just found that I wasn't devoted enough to the game to play it enough to keep up with like the free currency to collect enough to play it. It's not a bad game. I used to play that in paper as well. It's been power creep like absurdly, which is interesting. Yeah, Cotillion, one of our mods here, was telling me that is it still in beta, the new client for the Pokemon TCG? He was telling me like at the early launch of the beta there was some like weirdness where like if you tried to like migrate your account right away, it like did some weird stuff that didn't sound great. Hopefully they fixed that. I've got the start of a group here. I can use what I've decided to call the wall principle. So this is our next group over, which means that it's a group of 2 that goes exactly there. And then this has to be part of the last group of 3. Since I have a hard endpoint here, the overload principle tells me this has to be filled in, and either adjacent square could be filled in, but this can't be filled in. Oh, it's properly live now. That's good. I imagine the fact that it's the game now probably fixes some of those concerns, because some of those were just like you couldn't go back to the old client if you migrated, and like you lost access to some of that stuff, but that was like kind of playing with the transition, I think. Yeah, I used to play a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! In like high school. Locally, I was one of the better players, but I lived in an area where there weren't like a lot of players, so. What's it? Did I stop following Yu-Gi-Oh? I actually should know this. What was the set that had like the great creator in it? I can picture the art. I think, like, I forget if he had a proper name, but like I think he was like something the great creator. He's like a big guy, like a big orange guy with like a big hoop on his back. He was like the face art for the last set I bought physical cards for. You have old Star Trek TCG cards somewhere in the abyss of garbage I've left at my parents' house. I have some old Star Trek and Star Wars cards from like completely defunct games. I kind of just like to collect those for a while. I never really played them. I always just kind of liked cards. Like ever since the Pokemon TCG came out in America, I was just like, yes, this is my thing apparently. I'm into this. And so ever since then, I've just liked cards. You know, I like stuff like Slay the Spire, which is a digital card game, stuff like that. Like, I just like card-based things. I don't know why. It's true. Just like Kel loves orange soda. What? You didn't get that reference either? God, I'm old. Okay, so hang on. I got an endpoint for this group of 7. I guess I've had that for a while, and I can't definitively say that either one of these is blank or whatever. It's a fan-based Star Trek continuing committee. Like a rules group for the old cards to keep it running? Yeah, you got my reference, Jakey. I mean, that was, like, the orange soda thing is specifically from the Keenan and Kel show. But yeah, Good Burger is more or less the same thing, right? started on all that and then became a movie. I don't think I ever actually saw the movie, to be honest with you. Okay, so hang on. Like, there's only 4 spaces in this region down here, and one of them's filled in, so, like, that has to be part of the bottom group of 3. So that one's filled in. I don't know if that's useful. Hey, Cotillion. I don't know if you were lurking, but we were just talking about you. And then by the overload principle, I got a space that's filled in here, and I got an endpoint, and I know the next group up is 3, so this one's got to be filled in, and then one on either side of both these groups of 2 is filled in, the other one's not. The movie is exactly what you'd expect. I kind of figured. The Good Burger book. There was... When you say the Good Burger book, is it like a novelization of the movie Good Burger? Going back to the Star Trek question. So there's a rules group and like a print and play proxy community. That's cool. I like that. This is maybe a weird thing about me. I tend to really intensely dislike video games that are defined by some amount of internet connectivity and like company-based servers, because there's something that makes me really profoundly unhappy about the notion that if I like a game and the company stops supporting it, it is not possible to play that game again. So the fact that like they took an old card game and like found a way to make it playable again, like that's good. Not a fan of Ubisoft? No, not a fan of Ubisoft. Like, absolutely have stopped playing Ubisoft games. Like, I can't remember the last time I played one. But like, I think it probably, I mean, like, on some level, that idea's always kind of sat weirdly with me. But like, I think it really came to form when one of my favorite games to play in college was the Pirates of the Spanish Main, like, punch out and build pirate model tabletop game. And they briefly had a digital version of it, which was awesome because it resolved a lot of the issues of A, finding another human being who wanted to play the dumb pirate game with me, and B, some of the weird fiddly measurement stuff, which wasn't terrible, but like occasionally caused squabbles of like exactly how far a ship could shoot or whatever. And it had just a great assortment of like cartoonish sound effects that it would overuse and stuff, and it was like right in my wheelhouse, and I loved it. It was unbearably unstable and blue screened my computer like twice a day. It was a really terrible piece of software, but boy do I still miss that game. And it did not have support from Sony for extremely long, and just like the second they pulled the plug, you could not do anything with that game. I do still miss that game, even though it was a dumpster fire. Not joking, it crashed my computer like every day I played it. What you're saying is you hate the concept of my employer. I mean, like, there are things that are, I don't know if I would go quite so far as to say exceptions, but like esports things make more sense to me because the game is founded on the community, and as long as the community exists, there's no danger of the game going away. At the same time, you may have noticed that as much as I would love to support your endeavors, I have not gotten deeply invested in any of those games. I mean, I still have shell shock from the like 8 iterations of digital Magic the Gathering clients that they keep like making, ruining, shutting down, replacing, ruining, shutting down. Like, even before the current one, which they're currently doing their best to drive into the ground, there was like a mobile exclusive one, I think. I don't quite remember the name of. And then for years, there was Duels of the Planeswalkers, which was actually pretty good, but they couldn't really support like a growing environment. Like it wasn't made to support standard or some other constructed thing. So what they did is just like after a while, they just made like an annual release. You would just buy a new self-contained Duels of the Planeswalkers every year, which is incredibly stupid and defeats a lot of the purpose of a collectible card game. Is arena still a thing? It is. I think I'm projecting a little bit to say this, but I don't think I'm completely off base. I think the popularity of arena has waned a lot because they've really failed to capitalize on any format that allows you to use all the cards you've collected since they launched it. And like that was when I realized, and I realized quite early because I was watching for this, but when I realized that they didn't have a good plan for how to handle that, that's when I stopped playing and streaming arena. And I hate that I can't do that, but like I would make myself miserable trying to accommodate that. And so like to try and make you keep purchasing things and be relevant, they like made these like digital only cards, which are some of the most heinous things I've ever seen. I won't go deep on that dive, but like not only do I hate it in principle and hate it in execution, but like in addition to that, like all of the like software or like websites or databases that you would use to like look up Magic cards to like build a deck in real life now for some reason include these fake digital cards that are just like absolute garbage. So like not only is it something I don't want at all, but like its very existence makes my life meaningfully more difficult in a way that's irritating to me. Yeah, and to be clear, I'm just trying to answer honestly here, and I don't have anything bad to say about Riot. I don't have a lot of personal experience with it, but, like, it's just... I mean, even, like, talk to some of my friends who I used to play Destiny with religiously. Like, Destiny was, like, a big exception that I made personally, because, like, it's very much in the camp of, like, stuff I don't want to be playing, because, like, they someday will shut down the Destiny 1 servers if they haven't already, and then you just can't play Destiny 1 anymore. But like, it was kind of a similar thing where one of the things I liked about Destiny when they were first pitching it was that they said, like, we have a 10-year plan. In those 10 years, you will not have to buy a new software. We will do DLC expansions. You will be playing the same game. And after like 5 years, you had to buy a new game, like an entirely new game that worked on a new game engine and changed a lot of the economy and stuff I'd gotten used to and generally liked, and changed it for stuff I like less. And some of my friends will occasionally be like, oh, I hear that new expansion's really good, or like, I saw a video of this and I'm thinking about playing it again. I'm like, you have fun. I will not start that again, because only two things will happen. It will make me miserable because I hate it, or it will make me miserable because I like it, and will be tempted to spend too much time playing it again. That's just it. Isn't a lot of Destiny 2's content entirely gone? I mean, I haven't followed closely enough to know if that's true, Haggis. I thought only Destiny 1 stuff was in danger of being gone forever at this point. Are we already far enough that Destiny 2 has lost stuff forever? Yeah, exactly, Funny Godmother. Microsoft. Windows 10 is the last Windows. 3 years later, uninstall Windows 10. And I didn't miss your comment. There's just a lot of chat going on, Angel. Does this mean that you wouldn't be interested in playing Sea of Thieves with me? I really want to like Sea of Thieves, but I kind of just don't like Sea of Thieves. It's not even about my, like, issue with, like, online-only games, which would be fair enough, but I was, like, this is a thing that I've disliked with the gaming industry and it's, like, hype media, which I understand why we have it. But, like, in this day and age in the video game industry, like, people will, like, show footage of, like, a game that's, like, not close to release, and it'll look... And oftentimes it'll look to me like, oh, man, there's some really cool ideas here. When this gets, like, fleshed out and is a full game, I'm gonna be really excited about that. And Sea of Thieves was totally that. They made this, like, great trailer that they demoed at, like, E3 or something, and it looked super cool, and it was like, yeah, I mean, like, there's not a lot of depth to, like, what's going on in this mission, but it's cool that you, like, sail your boat out there, and you, like, find a treasure chest, and you shoot some skeletons, like, that's all pretty rad. like, I assume there's some, like, bigger story or, like, game mechanic that gives meaning to just randomly finding a single treasure chest. And then, like, I feel like it was, like, 3 to 5 years later, the game released, and it's like, this is exactly the trailer, nothing has changed, this bums me the crap out. Like, it genuinely makes me sad that this isn't cooler than it is. And I'll be entirely honest with you. Yes, mostly PvP, which, like, also I don't love. I got an Xbox One specifically to play Sea of Thieves, and have never played Sea of Thieves or meaningfully used that Xbox One. Which makes me the problem with society, but I'll admit it. Could be a regression. Honestly, it could be a regression. Like, I don't think I remembered enough details about that original trailer that, like, got me hyped on Sea of Thieves, but, like, when I saw the gameplay footage, it's like, I get where the fun here is, but, like, there's just not enough depth. I feel like I would play this, like, once and then be mad that it's not cooler. Like, it just doesn't feel like it has a lot of replayability to me, and it kind of is a game that wants you to make your own fun, and it's like, I could make my own fun with all sorts of stuff. Why do I have to buy your game to do it? I could make up my own game about pirates and make my own fun. Like, I'm an adult. Which is a weird way to punctuate that thought, but I promise. He says, I actually started paying for Xbox Game Pass Ultimate to play Xbox games I never got to play or missed from the 360. 360 was the best generation of Xbox, in my opinion, only just because, like, if for no other reason than the fact that, like, the PS3, like, really goofed hard on their pricing and their estimation of what the industry was going to be doing. So as a result, like, people mainly didn't want to go, like, first party with Sony, and as a result, like, all the support went to Microsoft, which is where the player base was. That's how you felt about No Man's Sky. Yeah, No Man's Sky, stinkeroo. I know it's supposed to be this great redemption story of, like, they fixed it in post, but, like, I own the game and could go back to it and won't. Just not interested. As far as I'm concerned, they blew it, you know? Anyway, at this point, I've lost track of whether I'm communicating with all the threads in chat. Just at me if you have a relevant question or if I missed something that you said. So if we look at this column, I've been kind of looking at this the whole time I've been talking. If we look at this column, there's only one group of 3 or more, and it's 3. So it's got to be exactly there, which then in turn means that, like, there's only one place that group of 5 for the adjoining row can be. And there's nothing between these groups, so this space is blank. Any kind of overlap here? 2 and 1, or like 1 space. Yeah, actually, hold on. 1, 2, space 1. Or wherever. Or like 1 space 1, 2. So like this guy has to be filled in no matter what this looks like. Which then means that for this row, we can use the overload principle to say that this square has to be filled in. Alright, that all sounds good. That means that this has to be... Ooh, interesting. That means this space has to be part of the incomplete group of 2 for this column, and can only reach here or here. And then... The only other group is this, like, mostly finished group of 5, so, like, these spaces have to be blank. And then that lets me know that these 4 spaces pretty much exclusively account for the leftmost group of 3. So these middle 2 have to be filled in, and then 1 on either side. And then I guess now that this is in place, I still need 2 groups of 1. And there's only 3 spaces, so they have to be separated in the middle. And that apparently finishes this column. I'm glad my sister could hook someone up with sweet riot goodness in chat. Happy rioting, Kronos. Is that a thing we say? I don't know. My sister works for Riot. I should know more about it than I do. Okay, cool. So I've got 3 spaces here and a blank space, and I need that to be a group of 4. So that gets filled in. And then nothing between those groups is filled in, which then means determine this has to be our middle group of 3. So now we know all the endpoints. Great. Okay, if we look at this row, only missing a group of 4 and only 4 continuous spaces for that to go in. Jiggy says Second Life is creating its first mobile app after they repeatedly said they wouldn't. It's weird to think of Second Life being on a mobile app. I guess it's not completely unreasonable, but that feels so weird. Some of my friends were like really into Second Life when I was in high school. I never really got into it. I played a little bit, but like it just wasn't really my thing. What's with this space, huh? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, there's no way for this to connect to this and still be a group of 7. It would have to be at minimum a group of 9. I guess in theory, though, this could be filled in, making that the group of 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, it could go to the bottom. I don't know if it's either like exactly that the group of 3 reaches up to here, and like this is the endpoint for the 7, or like the group of 3 is exactly these spaces and the 7 goes to the bottom. Ooh, okay, this row. We got 4 continuous and we just have to finish out a group of 6. That then tells me that this is the bottom group of 4 for the column. Hey, Neko, good to see you. Wasn't sure we would see you this evening since it's... Oh my god, it's 7:42. Good cripes. Oh yeah, we're on month 3 of the grand year-long Give Sub to Neko. Thanks again, Devilition. How you doing, Neko? Alright, so this has to be part of our leftmost group of 2, which means that this is blank. Which, hang on, give me a second. That should solve this column. So since the 7 can no longer go to the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That tells me that the only way this column makes sense is by filling this in and filling this in. Because like I said, it had to be exactly this configuration or exactly the other. And since it can no longer be this, that should be the column. So that makes that the next group of 1 over. Finished off this row. If we look at this row, I still need 2 groups of 2. One of them has to be exactly there, and then like that should be filled in as overlap. And I guess that apparently finishes that column, which that probably would have taken me a really long time to notice. So that gives us to here, right? 4, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, that still looks okay. I don't know what's going on there yet. Ooh, actually, if we look at this column, now that we have one of these spaces filled in, that makes that the group of 3. And then this necessarily has to be a group of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, blank. Fill that in to finish the row. It's a group of 1 at the top. This can't be anything because I only need 1 more adjacent space there. That's fine, that finishes that off. This is a group of 3. This is a group of 3. This needs to be filled in. This row is done. This needs to be a group of 3. This is a group of 12. We're close. Hang on. We just have to blank out a lot of these columns, probably? No, that's not it. Ooh, this one is. Whoa, this one is. No, there's still 1 at the bottom. That freaked me out for a second. Forgot about clock changes. Oh, yes, of course. I forgot about that, too. Nika says she sees Ditto's parents reenacting the Scar and Mufasa scene. We're so close. How is this hard? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. One of these is filled in. There's no way all these possibilities are equal. What am I missing? Ooh, I'm mad. Oh, wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This can't be part of the group of 7. That means this one has to be filled in. And this has to be a continuous group, so it has to be the start of the group of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, great. That's done. That's also the only one filled in here, which means that's filled in, which means that's filled in. It's paint blobs. It's funny. When my sister said she started playing this game and was surprised by the first thing she found, and I kind of jokingly said, like, wasn't it the body? Then I thought, you know, for a game where you're constantly figuring out what you're looking at, I don't think we've ever actually found a body, even though all the cases are about murders. And then this happened. Now, given the fact that we found a human heart, and it was a hard beverage, this could be a mannequin or something. I don't know. Every time you see this game, you keep thinking about Minesweeper. That seems very reasonable. It looks very much like Minesweeper. Except that I understand how to play this, and I kind of don't get... On some level, I understand Minesweeper, but like, I don't think I've ever finished a game of Minesweeper, and I don't think I could. Still F rank. What a failure. Oh no! Oh no, that's like a real body, I think. Detective Cross, get over here. Someone's been shot. Honor, I can't. Where can he go? We're on a boat. It could be a very convincing dummy, but it would be a very convincing dummy. Episode 4, Scout's Honor. I see what we went to great pains to do there. Very good game. Very good.
Sir?
Sir, indeed. You at least saw the body in that puzzle. To be honest, I got so distracted talking about video games that I kind of stopped looking at the picture and was just solving the logic. So I didn't do a check at the end like I often do. What's going on? This area is off limits. Everyone stay calm. There's been a murder. What? Let me see. Hold it right there. No one sees the body until I say so. I like looking at bodies, and I want to be the first one to look at it. Also, I'm wearing this badge. I object. This is my yacht. You can't stop me. That's where you're wrong, Kino. This may come as a surprise, but I'm not just an actor from out of town. I'm a police detective. Was that supposed to be a secret? Look, my sister works with highly trained actors. I didn't believe your amateurish make-believe for a second. Oh yeah? Well, make-believe this. We're heading back to port. You can't commandeer my boat without a court order. Civil forfeiture, Ray. This yacht was involved in a murder. My fraud case is much bigger than this in one, Detective. Justice will be served. Hi? Look, everyone, it's Clyde. Clyde looks like that. What does Clyde sound like? Was the murder those sleeves? He's slaying? Is he slaying, or was the victim fashion? I don't know. Is this a JoJo character? Yes, this is definitely a JoJo character. Cockney. Oh, yeah, that's great, Haggis. I don't think we've actually done Cockney. We've just done Australian, which sounds like Cockney because I'm not good at accents at all. Did we try Irish? We did Irish in something, and that didn't go super good. He looks like the guys from the boat on the start of part 3 of JoJo. I mean, he really just looks like any JoJo character, frankly. Did someone say we're turning back? Are you the captain? For today? But not other days? I'm from an agency. Regular captain couldn't make it. I'm Clyde. Clyde Musselman. Clyde Musselman, eh? Okay. So you're a Phoenix Wright character. You're just outright a Phoenix Wright character disguised as a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure character? That's a lot of anime. My sister says, I gotta be careful with British and Irish accents now. I work with too many people from the Dublin office. You know what's a weird thing? If I had a nickel for every time that I knew someone who spoke exclusively with a non-American accent and later found out that that person had been faking that accent in all social situations for a period of months on end for no discernible reason, I would have 10 cents, which isn't a lot, but that's kind of a weird number of times I've encountered that exact thing. I mean, listen, everyone, we have to be careful because we're out at sea on a yacht. We've got this Musselman staring us down, and, you know, there's a certain implication about being here, and it's really concerning. Better turn this keep around, Clyde. I want to get back to LA within the hour. Fine by me. Get the reference. Honestly, I don't even watch that show, but, like, I came across that clip, and that's one of the few clips of that show that I genuinely think is funny, despite the fact it's very disturbing. I got a bad feeling about all this. You and Scout check the scene for evidence. I'll try to keep the crowd in order. Only one problem with that. Scout's gone, and without his ability to turn everything into nonograms, I literally don't understand the conceit of this game anymore. He took off when he saw the body. And you let him go? He could be dangerous. I support Scout. He is not danger. I will choose the answer that least acknowledges that. He's dealing with a lot right now. He's just scared. We've got a murder on our hands. You need to find him and get him under control. But how will I solve nonogram puzzles? Scout, where are you? Would a Scout snack help you solve this mystery? That does seem like a lot of times. Do you include when your brother put on a Russian accent for the debate team in high school? No, but mainly because I sort of had the context to know he wasn't already Russian. But I knew two people in college who, as far as I know, didn't know each other, that both put on different British accents for, like, every interaction I knew them for during the span of at least a year. And then both of them were just American. And I'm like, what the crap? That's extremely weird. Are you okay? Scout, there you are. You can't just run off like that. The game kind of stops working if you're not around. I didn't realize until just now how essential you are to us actually just playing the game, like, at all. I'm sorry, I saw the body and... I know. I spent so long trying to remember. Now I wish I could forget again. But what I did is seared into my memory. It can never be deleted. Unless I delete it again. What name did our brother take for that? Sergei Platsnikov! The answer is probably they aren't alright, because most humans aren't alright. That is accurate, Jakey. That is true. Surprisingly quirky, but Emerson had a lot of acting majors. Neither of them were acting majors. One of them was an aspiring TV director, the other was a marketing major. No actors, just strange behavior. I appreciate that everyone's trying to make this make sense, but I promise you, you will struggle to find the angle at which it makes sense, because, like, there's no thing that levels it out. It's just weird. Look, Scout, we all have parts of ourselves that we wish we could forget, but running away from our problems doesn't solve anything. It's how you deal with them that's important. But I don't know how. I was basically born, like, 3 weeks ago. That's okay. You don't need to have the answers right away, but you need to be willing to find them. Will you help me? No, I'm pretty much taxed out right now. We're a team scout. I'll do whatever I can. But right now, we've got a case to solve. You gonna be okay searching the scene? Yes, I'll try my best. Just take it slow. Main screen, turn on. Ooh, don't like the look of this one. You've been reasonably generous, giving us, like, a good big line as a starting point. There's a couple 9s in here, but I got a sneaking suspicion this one's gonna be a tougher one. Alright, hold on a second. Let's start with this 191. Yeah, I think this still applies. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Nope. 4, 1, 2. Yeah, that should be our overlap of possible realities. 3 is not gonna do it. 119 might do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then the alternative would be just -2. Okay. That's probably right. Is 8 and 4 something out of 15? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Space. 2. Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, that is like 13 out of 15 spaces. You should get pretty decent overlap. Hang on. Is it possible for this to be the rightmost group of 1, or does it have to be part of the 9? If it was the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 space 1. Oh, it's actually possible. Okay, so I can't do anything with that. It just looks really weird. Alright, well, 6 is a reasonably large group, so we know that this has to be the rightmost group then. And then we get overload of 4, which is a pretty good start there. I think there, 5. Yeah, it should reach to there. And then the only other things in this row are groups of 1, so like that should be separated by itself no matter what else is going on. Similarly, all the rightmost groups in each of these rows are 1s. That's interesting. The game determined by making that its own group of 1 that this has to be filled in. Is that because if I was to fill out the rest of it, it would exactly account for every possible thing? 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1. Not exactly. Because, like that could be possible, and then that being possible would make that. But I guess the thing is, if we push everything to its leftmost extreme, there isn't room to fit another 1 anywhere in it. So I might be able to get overlap out of that because it's close to being filled, but like that should actually be correct that this necessarily has to be filled. But like that's something that I probably wouldn't catch by myself. I'll tell you that. So in the interest of learning about this situation, so the leftmost variant looks like this. The rightmost variant is like 1 space, 1 space, 1, 2 space, 1, 2, 3. So like in theory, not you two. In theory, these two are overlap. 2, yeah, that looks right. I think that's probably correct. I think the fact that this has fewer groups means I can't do that here? I want to leave it alone for now regardless. Is there a world in which it's possible for this to be the group of 1, or does it have to be part of the group of 4? If it was part of the group of 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this could be a space and then reach all the way to the edge. So technically that is possible. Which means I can't use that to rule anything out. This one's gonna take a while. Are some of these groups large enough that I could fill the whole column? Let's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Oh man. This 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, that's really close. Is it possible that knowing the position of 2 filled spaces would let me do that? So I think there's so little variance that I think the top 1 would have to be one of these 2 spaces, and it can't be this one. Because then it's just a group of 2, it's not a group of 1. So let's count it like this. 1, 1, 2. 1, 1, 2. Nah, that's not close enough. I need more information. Although I'm pretty sure that this is correct. Because, like, in order for that not to be correct, I'd have to be able to go 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1. Yeah, it's like it's just short, but that's what I would expect that to be. Because there's like 1 flexible space. So this should be correct. Oh man, this is gonna be tough. Okay. If we look at this column, it has 3 groups of 1 and a top group of 2. Because there is already a filled-in space above these 2, we know that they have to be lower groups of 1. And because I wouldn't be able to fit another group above this and have it be distinct, that means that this space has to definitely be part of that group of 2, so this is blank. I'm gonna be in this puzzle for a long time. Ooh, hang on. Let's take a look at this row. Assuming this is correct, which is one of my more speculative fills in a while. That's not English. Shut up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's no physical way that the 2 of these could be part of the same group. That would mean the leftmost one has to be part of the 6, and the rightmost one has to be part of the group of 3. But does that mean anything? I'm not sure I have enough context for that to mean anything. I think it doesn't mean anything because Huh. I think eventually that information will be useful, and I don't think I can use it now, is my current conclusion. If we look at this row, it's not possible, with this blank space here, it's not possible to put the two rightmost groups in this area. So let's assume, like, the group of 1 is maybe over here. What would the rest of this look like? Be like 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, and it wouldn't be possible to fit the 1 in here regardless, so the 1 has to be somewhere over here. But, like, basically 1, 2, 3, 4 space 1, 2. Space? No, this would be the space. Space 1, 2. I think what that tells me is that this is definitely part of the group of 2, which should mean that this has to be blank. I think this is right. I'm reaching really hard on this puzzle already, but like, I think that logic bears out. Like, the 4 has to overlap here. The 1 is somewhere in these 4 spaces, which is hard to narrow down unless you have more information. But, like, because this space is already filled in, the only other possibility would have been, like, the group of 2 being here. And, like, that's not possible. So it has to be here. And then, in order for the group of 1 to still be left of it, it has to be there. So I think that's correct. Even if, looking at this column, even if we jammed this with, like, the topmost possible groups of 1, have like 1, 2, 3. This would be the 4th group in the column. So that means that this space should, no matter what, be a group of 1 that's isolated on either side. Which is significant in that it divides this row in half, and there's not enough space in the right half for both groups to coexist. Which means that the group of 6 has to go on the left side. And then, how many squares is that? 7? Yeah. So, like, the 6 has to go over on this side, and then the 1 is, like, somewhere over here. How many continuous is that? 3, 9? No, 3, 8 out of 9. So, hang on. I'm making the assumption that this is filled and the top one, and then this is the next group. So if this one's filled, that's the next group of 1, which makes that where the group of 4 goes. Right? 1, 2, 1? Yeah. Oh, that's exciting, Jake. Your parents are paying for you to spend 2 weeks in London with them in the fall before school. Have you been to London before? I have not. I am uncultured swine. Does the presence of this X tell me anything about this group of 6? Do we have 7 total spaces and 6 of them are filled? Yeah, it tells me something. Something useful? It does. Ocean has confirmed tomorrow's plans. They'll be able to give your dad his Christmas present of a free breakfast. Where... Where's the breakfast happening? Is it like fancy restaurant or like famous people? Ah, okay. Listen, I'm a simple man. I like Denny's. I'm a simple man about a lot of things, to be honest with you. Maybe I'll remember to show you the weird thing that pertains to from recent history. Okay. Alright, here's what I've decided to do in this moment. I'm gonna fill in all my purple squares. I am reasonably confident in this logic, and I think I've reached enough points of extrapolation that it would be difficult to backtrack this in a meaningful way anyway. So I'm gonna fill these so I can start using purple for even more speculative stuff based on the less speculative stuff that's still speculative. You copy all that? Okay, great. So, back to purple. Is there a way I can work out what group this space is part of? Could be a group of 3. I mean, I guess the way to think about it is that I can't fit everything, including the bottom group, above the line. So at minimum, the bottom group has to go down here, and it's not possible to fit more than that. So one of these spaces is filled, and since this is close enough to the bottom, it has to be a group of 3. But so the highest the group of 3 could reach in this position is up to here. So that means that this desk, like, necessarily has to be filled. It's a little flexibility, but, like, this is always going to be filled in. Which isn't really that surprising, because if I look at the row, I determine exactly the same thing. Great. Awesome. Simple man in what you do, but your gifts are more lavish. Yeah, that's demonstrably true, Demolition. Cough, 12-month gift sub. I think that's mostly true of myself, too. I really hate spending money on me, but I will spend money on other people. I also recently was able to deliver on a Christmas and ended up being / birthday present for Tekka Zurich, my close friend, to mail him cards to update one of his Magic decks, because he does not have a lot of experience updating decks, but he really wanted the deck to do some things he wasn't sure how to get there. And so I was like, I will pay the rent and also literally pay for the cards and send them to you. And then also, there's a Magic the Gathering card that has the same name as his IRL daughter, and I sent him a copy of that because I thought he would enjoy it, and it seems like he did. But I won't tell you what card because that would dox his daughter. Get dumpstered. Okay, so at some point this got filled in early on, and I didn't really pay attention to the fact that it's close enough to the bottom that at the bare minimum, the overload principle tells us it has to reach up here, because the bottom groups here are 5, right? So all told, this is 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So honestly, we should be able to fill most of this row, right? Or column, rather. So let's use purple. 1, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, hang on. Is that the only way that works? Did I miscount that? Wait, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, I did miscount that. Okay, so wow, that sucks. I've been playing this on hard mode, because, like, if you just, like, fill this in this way... 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. No. Yeah, that ought to give me, like, a bunch of information that would have made my life better. Fills in the whole area up here. That tells me that's the top group of 4. Top group of 2. Top group of 1. That means that this is the start point for the group of 9. 3, 8, 9. Tells me this is a group of 2, 1, It just finishes that row. I'm honestly surprised I made it this far into this puzzle without that information. That seems really important to solving this. And, I mean, the good thing is so far I haven't found anything that negates any of that being true. Wow. That was one heck of a misclick, huh? 1, 2, 3, 4. How did he even do that? I'm like genuinely confused as to how that would have been possible. So that's my rightmost group. That's that. Should be overlap for that group of 5 now that this is X'd out. This is rightmost group of 3. What does that tell me? Tells me this has to be filled in. Yeah, all the 4 on either side of 10. Yeah, I mean, it's not much, but it's something. Not much there. I guess all of this is void. Because I have my rightmost 1 and most of my 6. 2, 3, 6. That's that. I'm looking at here. Oh, there's only one group of 2 in this column, so that's that, and then that's its own group, and that's its own group. 5 there. This should be rightmost group of 1, rightmost group of 3. That's filled in to make 8. Wall principle tells us that's its own group of 1. There's 6 out of 11 spaces, so all but 5, which just means the middle one has to be filled in. At least it tells me exactly where the bottom group is for this column. That's mostly done. God, I hope this column's right. If it's not, we're gonna have some problems later. Okay. So hang on.
Picture an egg.
If this is, like, this has to be part of our leftmost group of 3. If it was in its leftmost position, there would not be enough space. No, I could put a 1 there. Okay. I was thinking that the 2 was next, but it's not. So it's fine. We already know his name is Ryan Sataukit. And stop doxing my... Stop it. Stop doing it. I've heard stories of people, like, actually doing that sort of thing. It's just, like, somehow, like, doing some, like, dark web search of a streamer and then just, like, putting that information in their chat. It's, like, really upsetting. This column's done. This is a group of 2. There's a lot of 1s in this column. And here. Here. I guess I know that this is also a group of 1, right? Isn't this the one where I, like, tested? Yeah, that has to be a 1. There's no way to get the 3 anywhere near there. So that blanks those. And then, per this row, this can no longer be part of the 1 missing group of 6. 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 1 on either end. To refresh the random magic card generator like 10 times to get one that wasn't a random art card in Japanese or just dragon. See, Haggis, I think you missed my extremely long rant about online games, which I don't know how the stream ended up there, but, like, that's sort of an extension of my problem. Like, I was complaining mostly about the, like, arena exclusive cards they made for their, like, alchemy format, where they basically just, like, fix the whoopsie cards that they made too strong, but then also make random cards that are, like, too incomprehensible to understand.
It's somewhat effective!
But, like, in addition to that, with the physical cards, they've gone, like, kind of overboard on making different variants and versions of things. My mom will occasionally, for holidays, try to, like, gift me magic cards, and she'll be like, I don't know what type of pack to get you. And then recently I've discovered, it turns out I don't know what kind of pack to get me. Because, like, they change the odds on being able to find particular things you want basically by set, and in order to figure out what you actually want, you, like, literally have to do axes on, like, or research on, like, 3 different axes of, like, things to consider when buying a single pack of cards. They added the cool... Yeah, you mean the unset cards, like Clamilton or tearing up cards? I mean, they should be in the databases. Those have always been in the databases. They just show up with the silver borders, except for the most recent one where they decided that being able to tell when the card is a joke or not was too confusing, and so instead you should not be able to tell if the card is a joke unless you look really hard at it. So instead of there being a border to be like, this card is probably going to do something goofy that's like maybe not for you, they put like a little stamp at the bottom, like a small silver stamp with a weird shape on it. And then to take that even further, they have frequently misprinted those stamps since they implemented this questionable idea. And as a result, sometimes cards that aren't joke cards get the joke stamp and vice versa. So like, that's cool. That's going super well and isn't a bad idea at all. Am I a Commander fan? Yeah, at this point I play almost exclusively Commander. I've been using a lot of Spell Table since not exactly discovering it, but like actually investigating it late last year. And the anime cards you can't use in play. Now, which ones are you thinking of, Jakey? Because like there are like anime variant arts that are still legal cards. I'm not sure which ones you're thinking of. Like, they literally, in one of their, like, ancillary products, to try and get people to buy them, they're like, we're reprinting cards that we know are good, but we've redone the art with just, like, an anime guy in it. It's for someone. Some of them look cool. Frankly, a lot of them just feel out of place to me. They're not, like, bad. I don't get why we're doing that. JK, I feel like you're talking about something that's not an actual Magic product. Are you talking about, like custom art work? Because, like, that's the thing that happens, but they don't put, like, lewd anime art in packs or whatever. Like, that's like secondary companies making, like, weird card sleeves and playmats that make reasonable people a little uncomfortable. Which is the coaster famously very good at business decisions lately. Yeah, that's why they're reporting negative growth for, like, Q1. Which, like, I'm pretty sure negative growth is not growth. Like, at a certain point, you can't call it growth at all anymore because it's the opposite of growth. Okay. We should be able to narrow this down somewhat. So, like, the leftmost possibility for this row would be, like, this is the group of 1, and this is the group of 4. The alternative would be the group of 4 starts here? Wait, that's just not possible. Because this is filled in, this isn't possible. This should be the only way to do this is like that. But I'm gonna leave those purple because that's weird. Yeah, negative growth is business speak for shrinking. Right, but, like, it's disingenuous. The super expensive promo set you could buy... Okay, so let me try to clarify here, Jakey. There was a super expensive promo that you could buy that wasn't legal, but that wasn't anime related at all. As part of their, like, big 30th anniversary celebration, they reprinted all of the cards in their, like, oldest set, which have, like, a ton of collector value. And so, like, a lot of those cards are very, very expensive and thus are part of, like, an agreement that the company made a long time ago to not reprint playable versions of those. And so they reprinted, like, the whole set, but they can't be tournament legal because it would like ruin the company to do it. So instead they made proxies that are basically like, look, it's like a collector's item. Like, look at the cool old cards that you probably can't afford because they're extremely old. But here's the thing, is that they only made those cards available in a limited time frame sale, and you had to buy 4 packs worth of these, what they call proxy cards, as they're like a stand-in for a real card that you could put in your deck. But like they're not cards you can legally tournament play in a deck. And you had to buy 4 packs of them, and 4 packs altogether cost $1,000. And there's no market for this. It's the biggest misfire like I've ever seen in the history of Wizards of the Coast. They've made plenty of bad decisions, but like nobody wanted this, and it was too expensive for the people who did want it. And apparently it's a major cited factor for the so-called negative growth, was that they thought that product was going to sell better. But it actually ended up selling so poorly that like I forget what the window was. It was like 4 hours or something that like you were supposed to be able to buy these. They shut it down in like 20 minutes. What cards cost $1,000? There are actual cards that cost $1,000. They're incredibly few of them, and those cards are incredibly rare. But like, the thing in question isn't real cards, which is what makes it stupid. They're proxy cards. They're like, wouldn't it be cool if I had a real version of this card? This is a fake version of this card. And you had to buy them in a set of 4 for like $1,000. It's insane. Like, it's like, there's no reason you would ever do that. And they did it as a company, and it was bad. And yeah, and then you have stuff like the OGL situation with D&D, and that backfired horrifically. Like, just, it's... Wizards of the Coast just like doing bad business. This one space is filled in because I didn't fill the last group. Yeah, like, more or less, Kronos. Like, $1,000 for, like, 4 chances at arts of an extremely rare thing. It's just genuinely absurd. At some point, we managed to fill in all 5 of these in a row, so that's nice. That finishes that out. Can I determine something about this row here? So the rightmost position would be like, these 4 are filled in a row. And then this is blank. Huh. I mean, the weird thing is, like, I think, based on this position... Yeah, there's no way that this can be part of the group of 4. Because there's not enough space for 2 more groups, which means that this has to be one of the groups of 1, so it has to be by itself. So, then there wouldn't be space to fit a group of 1 here and have it be separated from the 4. So, like, these have to be filled in. Nope. And then 1 on either side. But then also, this just has to be filled in. So that being true, now we have 3 in a row in this column, which means it has to be part of the group of 6, not the group of 2. So, like, the furthest down that could reach is 1, 2, 3, and then everything below that just can't be part of that. Somehow, this proposition still sounds more respectable than paying for NFT art. Marginally, but like, yeah? Like, not a lot, but I think so. What are you telling me is Wizards is selling very fungible tokens? Yeah! It's kind of like that. It's just so stupid. Like, it's just so dumb. Oh yeah. We can fill this in. Right. Because, like, we know that this group of 3 is the 5, and now there's an endpoint over here, so, like, all of that has to be filled in. Only missing a group of 4 in this row? That's kind of weird. So this isn't filled in, and then these 2 can't be part of that group of 4 either. If we look at the one below it, this has to be filled in even if it goes all the way to the left. And both of them are filled in to the right. It does tell me this is our bottom group of 1, which then tells me that that's where the 4 goes. Okay. It's weird how sometimes there's like a feedback loop with doing that. I feel like we dodged a bullet that they didn't do official NFTs. I mean, yeah, the way Wizards is run now, I'm certainly glad they didn't do that because it seems like the sort of thing that they would try to do now. Spaces. One. Oh no, it's actually like a lot of space. Because this is one of the 3 that's like missing. It's just not marking it because it's in the middle. There's like actually kind of a lot of ways that could go. So I should leave that alone. Square Enix on the other. I mean, I'm not surprised Square Enix did. I saw the Sesame Street thing. That's devastating. That's rough. You hate to see that. Do I know anything about what groups these are? So this has to be part... Okay, hang on. So this has to be part of the topmost group of 3 because I couldn't fit another group above it. So it's got to be part of the top group, and then that makes it part of the group of 3. So that could, in theory, reach down to here, except it can't do that because the next group down is 2. Yeah, so that has to be filled in, which then means that that can't be filled in, which means that that has to be filled in. Something like that. I think all is fine. That would make this group of 3. So that's like that. So then we only have 4 spaces. We'll leave those open. Then that means that this next group down is a group of 1, and I'm still missing 1 there. Yeah, exactly, Dago. Like, Square Enix kind of has, like, a history of making bad decisions. Wizards of the Coast, it's still relatively recent that they've been doing that. I mean, relatively recent at this point is probably, like, 5 bordering on 6 years, but, like, yeah. Been at it a while. Meeting literal Muppets in 2 weeks, and you may need to have words about that. Good luck with that, funny godmother, in all aspects. That sounds like a difficult conversation. But also, I hope that all goes well. Sesame Street is only 30 minutes now? This may surprise you. I haven't watched it recently. Neko, I don't think I know what Meet the Feebles are. You're right, Rogue Sesame is owned by HBO now, which is awkward. Also, hi Rogue, how you doing? Can't sleep. Well, that tracks considering what time it is there. I can't solve this puzzle because I'm too dumb. This might be the last puzzle for the night. I don't know if that'll take us all the way to 9 my time, but like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to press like another hour it would take to feasibly start another puzzle. My voice soothes you. Well, I'm glad I could help. Luckily, we're not talking to E. Iron, who's a creep. Yeah, I do voice acting for this game because it doesn't have its own. Alright. So let's take a look at this group of 9 I haven't paid attention to in a hot minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so like it's just done. Like that's just what the group looks like, and then that's its own group, and one of those is filled in. Which means that this can't be part of the group of 6, which means these 2 definitely are, and that tracks. That's good. Okay. Huh. Okay, so for this row, we've done both our rightmost groups. And I can't fit a 2 and a 3 in here. So obviously this is part of our leftmost group too, and then somewhere in this business is our group of 3. That's one of our missing 1 groups for there. Who says, to summarize Meet the Feebles, imagine Muppets, but filled with gore, drugs, and everything that's adult. That sounds like, what was that Melissa McCarthy movie that sounded like it could be funny, and then the trailer came out and it looked like the worst thing I'd ever seen in my life? Hot Fuzz? No. Hot Fuzz is an actual good movie. What was that called? What was that thing called? It was something Fuzz, right? Or something? Bridesmaids, no, but I have the hot take that that wasn't a great movie either. I know it was very popular, but like that's one of those things that I don't mesh with society. Yeah, it was. This one was like a Happy Time Murders. Yes, Happy Time Murders, Demolition. You got it. Like in concept, I was like that could be really good, and then the trailer came out, and I'm like, oh no. You saw it and weren't impressed. I'm not surprised to hear that because it looked horrible to me. There's like plenty of things in this world that I'm at a place in my life where I'm like, that is simply not for me. That is for someone and it's not for me. That's on the short list of things. I look at that and I am like, absolutely not. Like, this is for no one. Please don't. It's McCarthy and Rebel Wilson? Was it Rebel Wilson? No, it was like Sandra Bullock, wasn't it? If it was Rebel Wilson, it wouldn't have sounded good to me. I don't like Rebel Wilson. This has to be part of our bottommost group of 2, yeah? Is that relevant? I mean, it closes off another option for the 6 down here. But I need this to be 2. And then the next group up is 3. Hang on just a second. I think this column is done. I might be mistaken. I think the column is done. That's the 1 and the 4, and then this would be 1, and then... Yeah, I think there's no variance. Both those spaces should be blank. That should be fine. That's probably helpful? I don't know. So we now know that this is part of the group of 4. I'm gonna come back to that, maybe. Was it Maya Rudolph? I thought it was like... Doesn't sound right, but I don't know, man. Oh, I know the thing you're talking about. Instead of the Muppets where Miss Kermit and Miss Piggy have their midlife crisis and Kermit starts dating a younger, more attractive pig in accounting, wasn't that the, like, primetime, like, adult Muppet sitcom on ABC that, like, also was, like, not... That one wasn't for... That might have been for someone. That one was not for me. I was all like, yeah, primetime Muppets. That hasn't happened since the year, like, 2001. I'm here for this. And then, like, Kermit's, like, bad-mouthing Miss Piggy in their past sexual encounters. And I was like, oh, no! Not for me! Yeah, tonight was awesome. Apparently this column's done, and the space is blank. That's fine. Not that long ago, something, like, reminded me of it, and I just, like, watched the opening clip on YouTube, and I was like, heck yeah! I don't know. It's my personal belief, and there are plenty who will disagree with me, like, I don't feel great about generally how the Muppets are being handled in the current age. Like, the Muppets still have potential. I liked both the Muppets movie from, like, 2015 or 2016 or whenever that was, and, like, the sequel, like, was still, like, pretty good. They did, like, a crossover with the Muppets on Holy Moly, which is a really bizarre extreme mini-golf reality show that was made specifically for me, so obviously I watched that. I didn't love the crossover. I know that Disney owns them. What I mean by that is, like, Disney could own them and put a creative person in charge who, like, understands how to make a fun thing with the Muppets in it. It's my feeling that Disney owns them and they put whoever in charge, because it kind of feels like to be honest, especially when it comes to Disney Plus, but like a lot of Disney television in general, Disney just like doesn't care, and so they just like assign shows with like a dartboard. And so like a lot of weird stuff happens as a result of that, is my feeling. The wall principle tells us this is our second group from the left of 2. And I need to fit 2 more groups of 1 in here. They can't be right next to each other, so one of these is filled and one of them isn't. Then if we look at this column, is this column done? Like that other one I looked at? It looks close. Because this should be part of the next group up. So bear with me. Overload tells us that even if this group of 3 reaches down here, it has to go up to here as well. It can't reach all the way up to here, because then it'd be part of the next group. Which is 1, so that tracks, but then this necessarily has to be filled. But then... no. One of these is still blank. And... it's this one, because if we look at this row, there's nothing between these 2 groups I have filled in, so all of those have to be blank. So this is filled in... I don't know for sure makes a group of 4 there. Original works... Rook says the original worked because they had guests, and because the guests had fun, went out of their comfort zone, musicians did song out of their genre, etc. And the humor was both family-friendly and also adult enough not to be boring. Yeah, I think that's key. I don't think, like, the capital M Muppets, as opposed to, like, Muppets as a category of entertainment venue. Like, the Sesame Street Muppets being Muppets, but not capital M Muppets. I think capital M Muppets do have to straddle the line. They have to be adult but family-friendly. Like, you can't do Kermit and Miss Piggy talking about their adult relationship. That's too far on one end of the spectrum. The kids can't enjoy that. Like, the Muppets have to be for everyone. But, like, they also, like, can't, like, the Sesame Street Muppets being an exception because they are made for a vessel that is specifically for children. That should be for kids. But, like, if you made... like, the inverse of that sitcom, where you made, like, a primetime Muppet sitcom, and it was all, like, preschool-style social problems and whatnot. Like, that wouldn't be Muppets either. It has to be both. Like, that is core to Muppets. And if they put someone creatively in charge of the current Muppet projects that understood that, that would be inherent. Yes, but I don't refer to Sesame Street Muppets as Muppets. That's fair enough, Rogue. I'm just making the distinction because the conversation transitioned from Sesame Street to Muppets, and they're technically all Muppets, but that's reasonable. I would not fault anyone for doing either of those. Yeah, I don't know about that. Don't know about that or that one. I feel like I should know about this by now. That's all actually weirdly still possible. Oh, actually, hang on. The only thing missing from this column is a finished group of 2. So, like, that has to look like that. So then this is empty and this is full. And this is empty, and that is 3, and that's empty. And this has to be its own group, so it's the bottom one, which means that nothing is below it, and that's filled in, and that's a group of 2, and that's a group of 2, and that makes that 3. And then this is a group of 1, that's a group of 2. This can't be anything. This is not a continuous part of 4. Also, sorry not to dismiss it. Thank you for the 55 bits to round out some numbers, Demolition. Have one of these, because you had to wait for it. Well, the missing group of 2 here doesn't fit in this single space, so looks like that's how that goes. So then this has to be, yeah, the leftmost 4, and then this one's filled in. Okay, that all still looks good. This one's apparently filled in. That's filled in. That's filled in. I found a bracelet. The nonary games. They're real. One of the one of the deadly games in Alice in Borderland had like high-tech bracelets, and it just immediately made me happy because I'm like, aw, it's like the nonary games, and people are gonna die. It's true. It's a bracelet on a boat. We're still an F-rank detective. A silver bracelet. Oh, it's a silver bracelet. So that is the informant. The informant got killed. The informant for Cusco. The informant specifically sent for Cusco. There's an engraving for answers held on the day you fell. Now, presumably that means that the bracelet itself is somehow a clue meant specifically for Cusco. In this case, being a metaphor for our playable character, Honor Mizrahi. So, like, the day she fell is the day she got fired from her Hollywood job, presumably. And this is a clue to get the answers or whatever. This is a game? I thought it was Minesweeper. Yeah, you know, we get a lot of that around here. This game is not actually Minesweeper. Which you thought it was Minesweeper. Nah, it's, if you've ever heard of Picross, it's the same type of puzzles that Picross is based on, which are called nonogram puzzles. And so basically in the grid we were looking at before, there were numbers lined up on the left and numbers across the top. And the numbers and the number of numbers indicate like how many filled in spaces there are in each row and column. And you're sort of just meant to use logic to figure out where stuff can go, can't go, and has to go. And then at the end of the day, once you've filled in all the spaces that need to be filled in, you should have a picture that resembles something, but instead you see an image of the regular from our chat, Ditto's parents fighting in an inkblot test. Minesweeper with hints. I've never successfully beaten a game of Minesweeper, but that sounds mostly correct. Because, like, the principles, I think, are similar between this and Minesweeper, but, like, Minesweeper, you click on stuff and then, you know, the numbers tell you what things around it are likely to explode. Here you get the numbers right away, but you don't get more information later. You just have to keep progressively using logic. I wonder what this means. Yeah, I think I should call it there. Because if I start another one, it could take me to like 10. I'd rather not go till 10. If we were gonna go to like 9:30 or something, I would be more inclined to stretch. Is that Captain Putin? No, he's what was his name? It was something ridiculous. Something Musselman. He's very suspicious. As someone in chat said, he's just a JoJo's Bizarre Clyde Musselman. He's just a villain from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure for sure. So let's go ahead and save over the last case. I have a feeling that all of the saves are gonna look exactly the same for a while, which is actually kind of interesting, because the more recent cases have started ballooning out into like multiple locations. Certainly there may come a time where we come back to land, but for a while we're probably just gonna be on the boat, right? Actually, let's turn to title. Yeah, as I was saying that, it occurred to me, like, yeah, I should probably just wait, because, like, we will probably get off the boat, and then have to solve puzzles that tie everything together, like the last case in a Phoenix Wright game or whatever. Favorite chapter besides the very end. So I assume that the game ends with us hacking all the bad memories out of Scout then, just based on that information. Don't actually answer that. I had a lot of good talks today. Anyone have anything you want to chat about to fill 10 minutes? in the meantime, I will remind you that somewhere on the couch behind me, I've hidden a secret Squirtle. If you can see a Squirtle like this guy, he's not a secret. But elsewhere, under, behind, otherwise consumed by one of my plush friends is a Squirtle. And if you are able to locate it, it is an omen of good luck for you in the week to come. And I gotta tell you, luck is a valuable commodity in the year 2023, at least as far as I'm concerned. You slowly replacing each plush with a Ditto version? No! The Ditto series, like, they don't... I think those are, like, hard discontinued. It's, like, pretty difficult to find those. Kronos asked, you know what the next game you plan to play through? It's a good question. Not exactly. There was, like, a short game I had been thinking of trying to play this week, but I didn't have time to, like, test it or get it set up on OBS. But after thinking about it some more, I think I might try and, like, prep that to be ready, and then just have it in my back pocket for, like, if I need to, like, finish a stream, or if I want to do a really short stream because I'm having a bad time or something. So I'm kind of leaning towards, like, trying, like, another point-and-click adventure, like, well, my brain just shut off in the middle of that sentence. What was it we were just playing? Why is naming games so hard for me this past month? I mean, everything's really hard. So what were we just doing? Hobbs Barrow, yeah, the excavation of Hobbs Barrow. Like, that game was a lot of fun, and Lamplight City, which we played not that long before, was also fun. I could try to find, like, a one that recently came out, or we could go back and, like, play an older one. There was something I was thinking of that sounded like a good... I kind of want to hold off on Sam & Max, because I'm still waiting for them to do the HD remaster of the last Telltale one. And then I kind of just want to play all four in release order. I don't know. Is there an adventure game that immediately appeals? I've talked about plenty of them in the course of streaming other games. Is there something that chat would like to see more imminently? You think I should play World of Warcraft with you? That sounds like just like a really bad idea. Me, like, having zero experience playing World of Warcraft, trying to play it for the first time on stream with an audience that, like, maybe isn't here for that. Also, it's another, like, weird ironic twist that, like, you missed the whole long rant I had of, like, I kind of am low-key against the majority of games that are, like, always require internet connection. Day of the Tentacle. Well, we could replay Day of the Tentacle. I forced my friend Tech to play Day of the Tentacle on our old YouTube channel, The Renegade Constabulary. I would not be opposed to playing through that again, but I don't know if that should be a priority. But that game is great. I'll tell you, I wonder if they sell it on Steam. I've never personally finished playing through a run of Maniac Mansion because as a child, I was much too young to understand what was going on in that game enough to beat it. I think that Maniac Mansion is, to this day, an old school adventure game that's still, like, wildly ahead of its time. Wildly ahead of its time. Am I a fan of JRPGs? I generally am. I tend to be less excited to stream them because the few times I've tried, I've found that no matter what the interest is, what the interest level is from the regular audience, that they lose interest relatively quickly, and then, like, if you don't play some of those games for, like, you know, a year at the rate at which I stream, which is like once or twice a year, or once or twice a week, you know, like, you'd have to spend, like, the whole year playing through the game, and, like, people will often tune out way before that. I'm not opposed to it. We did play, like a Digimon RPG. People ended up being really excited about that for a while, but, like, it did drag on for a while. What about the old Zork games? I don't know if those run on anything. The like janky, like, full motion video one I think does, but like that might require like some hard tinkering. It's speaking of Digimon, there was Digimon Survive is like a graphic novel thing. I think if I was gonna play that, I would do that after finishing Murder by Numbers. Just because I don't think I want to necessarily do two voice acting things simultaneously. Demolition asks if I ever do anything special for St. Patrick's Day. Typically, no, despite Irish heritage, because it's like mostly a drinking holiday and I don't drink. Like sometimes I'll get like green cookies or something, but like, you know, in terms of streams, also, I don't know if that was specific to streams. I don't know, it's not like a lot of St. Patrick's media that I'm really aware of. Did I play Wolf Among Us? No, I actually haven't, and I'm pretty sure I bought it when like Telltale lost its license to do everything, and someone in the adventure game community was like, hey, like probably just like buy all those. We don't know if they're gonna be resellable ever again. Like that might be a fun thing to do. I don't know. Waiting for the new Expanse game to come out. Yeah, when does that come out? I feel like I was aware of a release date at some point. Haggis says, played Black Ops 1. It has Zork in it. Is that honest to God true, Haggis? St. Patrick's Day is a day I avoid celebrating my heritage because a bunch of cauliflower people are ruining it for everyone. That's pretty accurate, is my feeling as well, yeah. Making a sequel to Wolf Among Us? Who, the like weirdly reconstituted Telltale people? I still don't think I fully grasp how that works. Yeah, pokes, pinches, and drunk bros. Yeah, that summarizes it pretty good. You can really play Zork in I confuse all those games. Black Ops 1? There's some irony demolition to so many bad Irish accents. Like Smash cut to like an hour earlier in the stream, me doing like a Cockney accent. Like, not sure I get to complain about that one. Rick says the devs got together and opened their own studio without all the debt and being bought by a bigger company. But how did they get like the license back? Because like, didn't they have to like sell all that when OG Telltale went bankrupt? And also, how'd they get the license to The Expanse? I can't imagine they have that much money. I don't know. It's missed. These are mostly rhetorical questions, but I find them interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm open to suggestions for the next game. The trick is, like, I know of, like, 2 things coming out in the summer that I want to play, and I suspect at least one of those will be long. But, like, for the time being, like, it's been kind of a minute since something came out that I was, like, excited about, and maybe I'm just, like, forgetting stuff. Like, I have a list on my phone, but, like, none of it was really jumping out on me. Yeah, I have some backlog Steam stuff. Like, I got... Like, we could do Monkey Island. I've never streamed Monkey Island. There are multiple Monkey Island games I've never played. I don't know how many of those are available on Steam. It's at least most, but not all. Real Mist? Could do Real Mist. I would need someone to do the piano puzzle for me. What releases am I looking forward to? I'm actually blanking. I know that I have alerts in my phone to remind me of 2 different games coming out in like late June, early July. One of them is Raincode, which is like it looks like a 3D visual novel on like the production scale of like the Somnium Files games, and it's done by the same publisher, but not the same developer, is my understanding. And I don't actually know if that'll be any good. The first trailer looked really interesting. The more recent trailer looked completely different to me. Like it felt like they had retooled the entire game from my understanding of it. But like some of the new stuff was still interesting. You can see me playing a Lego game. I did actually for a while when I was like between other games and hadn't decided on games, I was like playing through like Lego Jurassic World, which I like 80+% beat on stream, at least like the story mode, but like I never did end up finishing it. I'm not the biggest fan of Lego games, but they're like good, like casual. They're probably like more fun for like couch co-op and just like hanging out with a person. If I want a 50 to 100 hour plus time sink, let me stop you right there. Absolutely not. I definitely don't want that. Did you give me something recently? At least relatively recently, Haggis. Oh, let's just open Steam. I'm sure it will only mostly break the stream. This weirdly feels like a good use of like short stream time, so like I don't mind doing this. Mind the minute amount of desync possibly to occur as a result of this. What is in my library? I downloaded that game I was thinking of. Oh, I think, Haggis, I think you sent me Blackwell late last year, right? You sent me like some sort of bundle with like all the Blackwell games in it. I think that was you. The second Dark Side Detective to do at some. Oh, that was the thing I was thinking of. Do we want to do? Do we want to do Disco Elysium next? I kind of been holding off on it because there's some weird part of me that's like maybe Cotillion and I will like continue doing it on YouTube, but like I don't think that's gonna happen. It's a heavy. How well? No, I think I asked this and got exactly the answer I expected. Of like, how long is the game? Anywhere between like 30 minutes and like a bajillion hours. Oh yeah, someone sent me this at some point. At some point, I downloaded a really terrible free dating sim that I definitely want to play on stream at some point. Bunch of stuff I've already played down here. Willie Morgan, Unavowed, 12 Minutes. Whispers of a Machine, a game I forget that exists and that I played it. I do have Wolf Among Us. Inspire Strangeland, Star Trek, that doesn't work good for streaming or playing on a computer at all. What do I have? Just quietly skimming through my library, which is great content. At some point, they're making a sequel to Jenny LeClue, which I think we're obliged to play. I don't know, that covers like most of this stuff that I have. Yeah, Telltale games are usually a good time. Wolf Among Us is definitely a thing we can do at some point. I played like most, but definitely not all. Like I never finished playing through Tales from the Borderlands or Walking Dead. Not like a huge zombie fan, so that was never a huge priority. Excited to hear what kind of cop I am. It's obviously terrible. I mean, I'm used to saving a lot in games that have deaths in them. Last of Us Remake is coming out soon. I don't think I would enjoy that game. That's not to say that for any reason I think it's a bad game. Obviously, it's very popular. It just doesn't strike me as something I would like very much. Don't have to play new Tales from the Borderlands. I mean, I don't quite know what your insinuation is there, Haggis, because, like, my point was mainly there were, like, 4 or 5 episodes of Tales from the Borderlands originally, and I played, like, one, I think, like, as a birthday request for you one year, I think. But I never did 2, 3, 4, or 5. Just watch you play 90s Microsoft Solitaire. Isn't that kind of what Dwarf Romantic is, just with better music? All right, I feel like we're getting off the rails. I'm definitely into game suggestions. Go to the hang on. This is fixed, right? Does this work? Okay, great. Join the Discord, because you should just join the Discord. Leave suggestions in the Streamback channel. That's probably like the easiest way to get that to me. But like, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the big trick has just been like, there's been not anything recently that's been like super exciting to me. So like the front runners to me are like, you know, like play Monkey Island, play Siberia, maybe Disco Elysium. Yeah, at some point I do have to do Fate of Atlantis for sure. I think that runs like pretty normally on Steam, right? That's not like one of those ones that like is old enough to be like super broken. What about that pinball game? What pinball game? Something I've played before? Yeah, it runs. Yeah, let me clarify, because not everyone's been hanging around with us for long enough to know what I mean when I say something runs. Sometimes a thing will run on the computer and will not cooperate with streaming technology. So, like, I've tried, like, for example, Siberia 1 plays perfectly fine on the computer. Not great, but it plays on the computer just by installing it. If you try to like stream it, it doesn't know what's going on. I do want to stream that game at some point. It will require additional maintenance. And some, people are very adamant sometimes with me that like, oh, well, as long as it's on Good Old Games, it runs. Literally had the same problems. Like I downloaded the Good Old Games version of Siberia and it did exactly the same thing. On old games. I still want to see my sister play the Kyrandia games on her stream. Because like I appreciate those games, but those were like more her era, I think. That was when I was like too dumb to breathe. Anyway, yeah. Everyone spam all your Squirtle guesses. We're gonna run it back and find that Squirtle. How to make run on machine. I mean, it will probably require some maintenance, as stated previously. See comments on Siberia. But I'm pretty sure people have made the effort to make it possible. Also, I don't know. It's always a function of how much you actually want to play the game versus how much trouble it is to get it working. It's the biggest trick with like DOS games. I'm just saying, I feel like that would be a good time, but I'm still enjoying your Pokemon playthrough. I making such slow progress on Pokemon on my own. It's blah 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 blah. All right, I see plenty of good guesses. I see a couple that sort of converge behind Cool Spot under the Squirtle. Bunny Cat, I know what that refers to. Jolteon, Squid. Squid as opposed to octopus, correct? We do sort of have both now. Maybe, I don't know. Are they supposed to not be on the couch at the same time? Well, I mean, you still got plenty of Pokemon left to go, so, like, this wouldn't be an immediate thing at all. But, like, someday. Like, someday. Alright. Let's go find... Ah, my leg! Why would I use it for any function at all? Ah, my leg again! Why do humans have these? Alright, Fushine. Yes. Okay. Let's start there. We got Fushine over here. We got this little pirate guy. And then we're hanging out with Hans the Porcupirate. Sarah sent me him. He's a porcupine with an eye patch and a hat. He's very good. Stray is next. I will be very interested to see your playthrough of Stray. I would say that like my review of Stray is like I mostly liked it and then kind of got confused, but it's fine. Like I easily get enraged by games, and like Stray wasn't enough to make me like super upset or anything. I just sort of like I'm not sure exactly what happened, but it's Found a squid. Probably noticed something hiding there. He was sitting a little weird. Little rabbit guy. Not a Squirtle, but like pretty cute, huh? I guess under my very clawsome son, Carlos. Good fortune to Carlos, always. Long live Carlos. And that is where I hid a Ninja Turtle, who it turns out is not, in fact, a Squirtle. Yeah, I completely, like, Stray definitely gets being a cat, and, like, I was very impressed with that. I was definitely confused as to why the game wasn't more about just being a cat. I don't mind there being, like, a bigger story whose scope is, like, beyond cat. Well, like, I kind of just feel like you should be a furry little guy, like, the whole time, and, like, not care about the fate of the humans. I feel like, if anything, you should, like, just accidentally solve their problems or whatever. It was, like, back when I was in college, I kept seeing ads on, like, Facebook for, like, a Teenage Mutant Ninja Squirtle shirt that had a really good design on it, but, like, later, by the time I felt like I wanted to buy such a thing, like, there were lots of copycat designs that weren't good, and the original one I couldn't find anymore. Let's see. Oh yeah, a couple guesses over here. We got our friend Not Secret Squirtle. We got our friend Cool Spot. And hiding back there the whole time was little Winnie the Pooh. Let's. That leaves us with. Good guess. I presume when you say bunny cat, you mean this fellow. Who, I don't know, I think is like. I looked it up, and it's supposed to be something called a sugar glider. It still looks like a flying squirrel to me. I don't really care. It has bunny ears. It's pretty good. It's a good guy. And it turns out that was the location of our secret Squirtle. So congrats. I believe that my sister in chat correctly found it. I'll give some points to Demolition, who loves to choose something that covers multiple guesses, which I feel is like against the spirit of the game. But I mean, what's behind that Jolteon? Where can you find a shop that has a sugar glider in it? Isn't our sugar gliders from the picture I saw look like bats? Are they a type of bat, or are they just something similar to bats? I mean, Squirtle says the outlook is more positive than you might expect. Hopefully the Eldritch Horror does end. And that applies to all of you. Because if your year has been anything like my family's year, 2023 is the absolute worst. And if I ever find a way to incarnate it and inflict suffering upon the year of 2023, rest assured that I will manage to do so. They're like flying squirrels, but they're possums. Huh. Weird. Oh, you're going back to the Price is Right audience. I hadn't heard anything about that. Well, maybe you'll win, like, a car or an RV or whatever. That'd be exciting. Anyway, that'll do it for this stream. I hope you've enjoyed this extended hangout and chat. Maybe we should do it more often. I don't know. Oftentimes, I stretch the gameplay as long as possible. This time we didn't, so it seemed like a good fit. But yeah, we'll figure out what game comes next. Again, feel free to go to the Discord and let me know your thoughts. Yeah, that'll do it for the stream. Hopefully everything will be back to normal by next week, so that would mean that we're streaming Friday and Saturday at 6 p.m. Pacific. There's still a good chance I'm going to be in a pretty bad mood next Friday, and I don't immediately know what we're streaming, but it's something, don't worry about it. In the meantime, thanks for being here, thanks for being you, and I hope to see you all again soon. In the meantime, take care of yourselves, do your best to stay safe and dry. It's super wet over here, and remember that you are clawsome.